Yo. Yo. This is a weird setup I have. Thought to change up your thing, but it's still weird. I'm still sick. I'm just sick for some reason, but okay. I'm here. I'm still dreaming. Bogo, let's go. Okay. Wait a minute, let's go out to my hair. Wait a minute, hold up. Let me cook. Let me cook. Wait a minute, hold up. Let me cook. Wait a minute. Wait a minute, hold up. Let me cook. Let me cook. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let me cook. Florida. Let me cook. Ugh, it was horrible. Ah, it was horrible. Wait, what? Think of another word I've been running from Japan? Ain't no way you're Japanese. That's cool. First Japanese viewer. Hey, thank you. Hey, what time is it in Japan? It's morning. Hey, what's the mornings again? Ohio? Is it Ohio? Ohio. It's morning over there. Hope you have a good time at work or whatever. "9:42 a.m. It's morning, Ohio." I'm morning then. Am I going to university? Self-taught. I am in a university, but I'm doing something else. I'm self-teaching myself how to draw. I have my references right here, and this is me. I'm self-taught. How said that? Lawyer, dentist, engineer? No, movie. Like a movie producer, director. I forgot what it's called actually. Basically, I want to work in the movie production things, but I'm stuck. I'm not going anywhere, so I'm teaching myself how to draw. Trying to do entertainment stuff is hard. But not direct. I don't want to be a movie director. It's just that I want to be like, I forgot what the name. Assistant. No, that's not an assistant. No. I forgot the name of it. I use Avid software. No, I use Adobe. Well, I used to. Production assistant. A PA, yes, that's what it is. Production assistant, PA. PA. Yeah, Adobe is good. I use Adobe. I use Adobe to edit some stuff, do Photoshop for a bit. I did some animations. Horrible, but I did some stuff. I would try Blender. I did actually. I didn't know what I was doing and I gave up. I mean, I still have it downloaded, but I still have it on my computer, but I don't know what I'm doing. And I see people doing all this stuff. I'm like, how? I see people online doing stuff. I'm like, damn, this way more talented. I'm stuck doing nothing all day, working a dead job. Pain. A bit of an accent. You're Latino? Yes, I speak Spanish. English is my second language. Cool. I did the best. Okay. Cuento, pero ahora lo voy a decir. Spain Spanish, Puerto Rican Spanish? No. Puerto Rican Spanish. Or Caribbean Spanish? I don't know. I don't know how to say it. So if you know the Puerto Rican island, I'm over there. I'm not Mexican. I'm not Spanish. I'm not Spain Spanish. I'm in other country Spanish. I remember Berkeley like this. That's fine. Okay, that's very specific. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna look it up. That's very specific. I have no idea that. I have a small brain. I went to college. I'm in university student. I went to college, university, whatever. But what am I looking for? On my GPA? Oh, horrible. I have any education. Oh, mapo. Okay, this is how I can explain it. Wait, this map is horrible. Somewhere around like 3 or 4. If I remember correctly. Wait, what is it? Okay. Close that. Go by here. Close that. Close that. Okay. Okay, my GPA, I got you, is 3 point something something. Very low. Horrible. So I'm from here. See this island right here? You see that pixel? Right there. You see that pixel? VFX things. I don't know what you're talking about. It's just normal. I don't know what you're talking about. That's normal. Anyway, I'm from here. That pixel right there. I was born in that. Waikiki Island. Yeah, it's pretty good island. You don't pay taxes. Nah, it's a pretty good island. Very horrible in storm season, but pretty good. And then from there, I went to a shittier place. Right here. That's where I continue my education. That's where I'm stuck. This part is a shithole. A shithole. And yeah, that's it. From here to here, shithole. There. Orlando. Orlando, okay, there we go. I linked myself. I live in Orlando. Who cares? Orlando, I think I'm close to Tampa. It's close to Tampa. I don't know. I don't know geography. Geography is my weakness. Geography is my weakness. Okay, if I remember correctly, it is this. And then this. Those are the hips. And then that. Then that's the arms, and then that for wait. Doesn't make sense. Woke up himself. Thank you. But the thing is, I'm stuck at school. Like I'm stuck in the university I'm at. I'm stuck because I have to find an internship. Basically, work for free just for experience. That's why I'm stuck. I cannot get an internship. Nobody wants me. I applied to so many places. Nobody wants me. Nobody wants to wannabe. So I went to drawing. I went to draw. Wait, why am I doing a ball? I should do this. They do. They do. And I already applied and they said, no, thank you. Try next 6 months. And I'm like, fuck off. I tried to both of them. Both of them rejected me. Okay, now what? Random people on the random businesses. Hopefully they want me. Try random businesses. Never receive a call back. Send another email. Never receive another email back. I'm like, okay. Obviously, I told him I'm bilingual. They have an option where you say like, where you say what you are, like race or something. I'm like, I am bilingual. I'm Hispanic. I'm this. I'm that. They still don't care. It's in Florida, Florida's a cesspile. Spanish will be up, it should, but at the same time, I'm competing with a bunch of other people that speak Spanish because I'm not the only one. The area is infested with a bunch of bilinguals. Why does it look so bad? That looks fine. Okay, so the upper body is this is my pain. I think I did the chest area too big. Alright, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. What this?
Punch it! You know, we'd already be there if Roman wasn't driving Ford Knox on wheels.
You see me shining, baby?
We're locked inside! It's a trap.
That's a bomb.
All right, dorks, what are we blowing up? What? The Vatican? Wow, you guys are going to hell.
Get out of there!
The great Dom Toretto. If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today. And now, I am the man who's going to break your family. Piece by piece.
The devil's coming.
Boom. Tommy, I knew you would come for me. So how about we all just start shooting each other? Time to end this.
Let's dig some graves.
You are not to be trusted.
Hey, you ain't on my Christmas list either.
Cavalry's here.
Cheers. We need weapons and cars.
Cannon cars.
Do you like surprises?
What?
I adore them.
I'd stay down if I was you.
You'll need to hit me harder for that.
The game's over, Dom. You lose. This is your last ride. Then you might want to buckle up.
The CGI fest.
I'm on
is
location at
bad.
a small mom and pop business that just made a fool of Ron DeSantis. All they had in their corner was $200 billion in market cap and thousands of the world's best lawyers. But not only did they make a fool of Ron DeSantis, they did it in the most legally hilarious way possible.
Yeah, so it's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis versus Disney in a fight to the death. And they're going head to head in a romp in the swamp, and only
Holy.
one will emerge victorious. And so far, well, it's Disney 1, DeSantis 0. And you'll have to stick around until the end to learn of the hilarious legal way that they actually won this one.
Now, I know what you're asking. Did Legal Eagle come to Disneyland just to film one sight gag? No, I came here for many sight gags.
The trouble all started in March of 2022 when Florida's Republican-dominated legislature passed House Bill 1557, aka the Parental Rights in Education Act, aka the Don't Say Gay Bill. The law bans discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity for students in kindergarten through the 3rd grade in Florida public schools to protect, quote, the fundamental right of parents to make decisions regarding the upbringing and control of their children in a specified manner. And it also requires schools to out students to their parents as gay or trans, meaning that the child of any age who is struggling with their gender identity comes to a guidance counselor or trusted teacher, the school cannot
I'm bad
maintain
at perspective.
confidentiality
I
about
can't.
this discussion and must disclose it to the parent as part of the child's educational record.
Somebody doesn't want to step out of the closet, we open the door for them.
And the bill creates a private right of action for parents to sue schools for violating this statute and recover monetary damages, including legal fees. Now, the law had quite a few vague terms, and when this was being debated in the legislature, State Senator Lori Berman wondered if the obligation to disclose any, quote, change in the student's services or monitoring related to the student's mental, emotional, or physical health or well-being would require schools to inform parents if a student requested a vegetarian meal for lunch. And the bill's sponsor, State Senator Dennis Baxley, agreed that it would. But if the bill's intent was to banish any mention of LGBTQ people from Florida schools as educators struggle to comply with a vaguely worded law under threat of cripplingly expensive litigation, it's been a rousing success. Teachers in Pasco and Duval County schools were ordered to remove safe space stickers from their classrooms for fear of running afoul of the Don't Say Gay bill. Even rainbows are being removed lest teachers be accused of indoctrinating kids. The Sarasota County School District published a flowchart for staff when a student requests to change their name or pronouns, and unless and until parents give permission, the answer will be no. And Governor DeSantis' then spokesperson Christina Pushaw tweeted, "If you're against the anti-grooming bill, you are probably a groomer, or at least you don't denounce the grooming of 4 to 8-year-old children. Silence is complicity. This is how it works, Democrats, and I didn't make the rules." DeSantis himself echoed this language when he signed the bill into law on March 28, 2022 at a private charter school in Tampa.
They support
sexualizing kids in kindergarten.
And that, of course, put him on a direct collision course with Florida's largest employer, Disney. Because Florida's Don't Say Gay bill sparked a furious backlash. And the Walt Disney Corporation, which has long positioned itself as an LGBTQ-friendly business, brings in major tourism dollars for Florida's economy. One 2019 study found that the company was responsible for $75.2 billion in annual economic impact for Central Florida, supporting 463,000 jobs and $4.8 billion in state tax revenue. It also contributes millions of dollars in campaign contributions every election cycle.
And yes, before you write it down in the comments, I am fully aware that all of this is taking place in Florida at Disney World, not in California at Disneyland, but I didn't want to go to Florida. Have you seen who they've elected there?
And as it became clear that the legislature was actually going to pass the bill, Disney's then CEO Bob Chapek faced intense criticism for not using the company's clout to fight it. His own employees staged walkouts in March of 2022 and set up a website called Where is Chapek to demand action. For his part, Chapek told shareholders he'd been working behind the scenes to fight the bill, and he apologized to Disney's LGBTQ employees, saying, quote, "I missed the mark in this case, but I am an ally you can count on, and I will be an outspoken champion for the protections, visibility, and opportunity you deserve." Chapek's allyship didn't last long, though. He was ousted in November when his predecessor, Bob Iger, came out of retirement and took the job back. On March 28th, when the bill was signed into law, the company finally put out a statement of tepid criticism, suggesting that the law, quote, should never have passed and should never have been signed into law. Quote, "Our goal as a company is for this law to be repealed by the legislature or struck down in the courts, and we remain committed to supporting the national and state organizations working to achieve that. We're dedicated to standing up for the rights and safety of LGBTQ plus members of the Disney family, as well as the LGBTQ plus community in Florida and across the country." At which point Disney found itself in the middle of a Category 5 social media storm, dealing with the backlash to the backlash from the right-wing supporters of the bill itself. And as a result, Governor DeSantis and his allies vowed revenge on Disney for daring to criticize the law. At a press conference on March 29th, DeSantis branded Disney a bunch of, quote, California corporate executives. He said, quote, "I think they crossed the line. We're going to make sure we're fighting back when people are threatening our parents and threatening our kids."
And here we are at It's a Small World, which is actually the birthplace of Ron DeSantis.
Now, in a fundraising email, he threatened reprisal, tying it explicitly to the company's criticism. Quote, "If Disney wants to pick a fight, they chose the wrong guy. I will not allow a woke corporation based in California to run our state. Disney has gotten away with special deals from the state of Florida for way too long." Lieutenant Governor Jeanette Nunez was even less subtle, likening Disney to the Chinese Communist Party and insisting the company had no right to criticize the government, which is, of course, not how this works. Or maybe that's exactly how it works in Florida, where the government just made it illegal for teachers to acknowledge their own families and ban drag shows.
Yeah, so California doesn't have those laws. California also doesn't have horrible humidity, so maybe if you're thinking about going to Florida, maybe go California and Disneyland instead.
But the Florida legislature raced back to Tallahassee to figure out some way to stick it to the state's main economic engine. And what they settled on was repealing a special tax zone for the benefit of Disney called the Reedy Creek Improvement District. Now, naturally, they also tried to draw a line between the government action and the company's protected First Amendment speech. For instance, State Senator Spencer Roach tweeted on March 30th, quote, "Yesterday was the second meeting in a week with fellow legislators to discuss a repeal of the 1967 Reedy Creek Improvement Act, which allows Disney to act as its own government. If Disney wants to embrace woke ideology, it seems fitting that they should be regulated by Orange County." So what is the Reedy Creek Improvement Act? Well, that requires us to go back to 1965, when Florida Governor Hayden Burns welcomed a new neighbor to the Sunshine State.
Florida already has many world-famous tourist attractions, and the new Disney complex promises to complement these existing businesses and will greatly increase the magnetism of Florida's dynamic personality.
Now, the Walt Disney Company promised to do for Orlando what it had done for Anaheim, California, with the Disneyland theme park. To incentivize the company to build Walt Disney World, Florida created a special tax district for the 25,000 acres of heretofore worthless swampland the company had bought up in Orange and Osceola counties. And according to Florida's Uniform Special District Accountability Act, a special district means a unit of local government created for a special purpose, as opposed to a general purpose, which has a jurisdiction to operate within a limited geographical boundary and is created by general law, special act, local ordinance, or by rule of the governor or cabinet. So in plain English, a special district is a government-authorized regional body dedicated to a specific purpose, like community development, or fire or rescue, or, this being Florida, mosquito control. And truth be told, special districts aren't really all that special. The state's website lists 1,932 of them at last count, ranging from the Amax Brewer Memorial Law Library to the Zephyrillus Community Redevelopment Development Agency. But the Reedy Creek Improvement District was pretty special in that it was so wide-ranging. The original 1967 charter gave the Improvement District Board, which was controlled by the Walt Disney Corporation, dozens of powers. The RCID had the authority to build roads and sewage systems, to contract with neighboring police departments for security, to enact a mosquito control plan, and the law exempted it from virtually all zoning laws. It even gave the RCID the right to collect taxes at triple the rate of any county or city. Essentially, the charter allowed Disney to function as its own independent municipality, an arrangement which worked out well for everyone for some 55 years until the mouse got too big for its britches and started talking back to the governor. So in 2022, after Disney criticized the Don't Say Gay law, Governor DeSantis and his allies decided to kneecap Mickey by revoking the charter of the Reedy Creek Improvement District. His buddies in the state Senate raced back to Tallahassee to enact SB 4, a bill which purported to dissolve the Reedy Creek Improvement District itself. Well, to be more accurate, it dissolved, quote, any independent special district established by a special act prior to the date of ratification of the Florida Constitution on November 5th, 1968, and which was not reestablished, re-ratified, or otherwise reconstituted by special act or general law after November 5th, 1968. But you probably saw this coming. The only district affected by this law would be Reedy Creek. And Orlando land use lawyer Jacob Schumer immediately spotted a huge problem with his plan to stick it to Disney, because a lot of special districts were empowered to issue bonds. But the RCID charter had a special provision wherein the state of Florida pledged not to impair the rights of bondholders until, quote, all such bonds together with interest thereon, and all costs and expenses in connection with any action or proceeding by or on behalf of such holders are fully met and discharged. And so dissolving the Reedy Creek district would cause the bond debt to land squarely in the lap of the local government. And while Disney can easily pay the $58 million annual debt service on the $1 billion worth of bonds, Osceola and Orange counties cannot. But DeSantis vowed to fight on, saying, quote, in the near future, we will propose additional legislation to authorize additional special districts in a manner that ensures transparency and an even playing field under the law. And his spokesperson vowed that no Florida taxpayer would see their rates go up as a result of the governor's mission to punish Disney for standing up for LGBTQ kids. Now, in the event that the legislature passed a substitute statute for SB 4, the bill also renamed the Reedy Creek District the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District and created a new board filled with DeSantis appointees. The panel includes several DeSantis donors with strong ties to the Republican Party. For instance, DeSantis also named Bridget Ziegler, a co-founder of Moms for Liberty, a group of self-described joyful warriors in the culture who fight mask mandates and transgender students going to the bathroom. Her husband is co-chair of the Florida GOP, who donated $1.75 million to DeSantis. She's joined on the board by Pastor Ron Perry, who once described homosexuality as evil and shared a conspiracy theory that tap water might be making people gay, basically sending a message that if Disney ever got any bright ideas about speaking up against the governor again, the board would ensure that the company would deeply regret it. Or as DeSantis put it, quote, when you lose your way, you gotta have people that are going to tell you the truth. All these board members very much would like to see the type of entertainment that all families can appreciate. Jacob Schumer, the lawyer who spotted the bond problem with the first bill, told the Washington Post, quote, the district is basically exactly the same, but now Disney World will go from being abnormally independent to being abnormally controlled. They still get their special little district with taxes that can pay for lavish roads and luxury projects, but they're no longer pulling the strings. In February, DeSantis signed the new bill into law, congratulating himself for a flawless victory over the woke corporation, but it turned out the mouse still had a couple of tricks up its sleeve. So because DeSantis' people hadn't been paying a lot of attention to the board, they failed to notice the legally mandated notice posted in the Orlando Sentinel on January 27th, advertising a board meeting on February 8th, 2023 in the boardroom of the RCID administration building. At that meeting, the outgoing board members voted to adopt a new declaration of restrictive covenants. And buried in a lot of legalese, the document ceded most of the board's powers to Walt Disney Parks and Resorts, which meant that the new board wouldn't be able to withhold approval for most of the things that Disney wanted to do. Now, it took the incoming board members almost 2 months to work out exactly what had happened. In fact, it wasn't until their second meeting that they realized that they'd been outfoxed by Disney.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe the original problem here is that the state of Florida ceded basically unfettered government-like power to a huge corporation, and now they're reaping the repercussions of that. I don't know. Maybe that's not a good idea. Who knows? I'm just a lawyer.
Ron Perry, the anti-gay water pastor, complained, quote, I cannot tell you the level of my disappointment in Disney. I thought so much better of them. This essentially makes Disney the government. This board loses, for practical purposes, the majority of its ability to do anything beyond maintain the roads and maintain basic infrastructure. infrastructure. New board member Bridget Ziegler tweeted, quote, "The arrogance of at Disney continues, from ignoring parents and allowing radicals to sexualize our children, to now ignoring Florida taxpayers by sneaking in a last-minute sweetheart development agreement. Disney has once again overplayed their hand in Florida. We won't stand for this, and we won't back down. If unlawful actions were taken, this development agreement will be nullified." For his part, DeSantis vowed revenge. Rest assured, you ain't seen nothing yet. There's more to come in that regard. And the governor immediately dispatched an army of taxpayer-funded attorneys to attempt to unwind the deal. A statement attributed to 4 separate law firms reads, quote, "The lack of consideration, the delegation of legislative authority to a private corporation, restriction of the board's ability to make legislative decisions, and giving away public rights without compensation for a private purpose, among other issues, warrant the new board's actions and direction to evaluate these overreaching documents and determine how best the new board can protect the public's interest in compliance with Florida law." Then the state's top lawyer, Florida Attorney General Ashley Moody, sent a public records request to the Reedy Creek board members demanding all communications, quote, "discussing an intention or goal of circumventing, avoiding, frustrating, mitigating, or otherwise attempting to avoid the effects of anticipated actions by the Florida governor and the Florida legislature." In the meantime, DeSantis sent a letter to the state's chief inspector general, Melinda Miguel, demanding that she investigate the board for, quote, "collusive and self-dealing arrangements aiming to nullify the recently passed legislation, undercut Florida's legislative process, and defy the will of Floridians." Apparently, he believes that it would be unethical or even criminal for the RCID board members to consult with Disney executives on the RCID contract, despite the company being a party to the RCID contract.
But the counterpoint here is well taken. There are those that argue that Disney is trying to frustrate the democratic process. People elected their leaders in Florida. The leaders in Florida have enacted several laws that seek to revoke the special district that Disney was benefiting. And by trying to frustrate that special district and those laws, Disney is being anti-democratic. And it's hard to argue against that. It's just that it happens to be on a backdrop of potentially protected First Amendment rights and this whole culture war.
New Disney CEO Bob Iger called out DeSantis at a recent Disney shareholder meeting saying, quote, "The governor got very angry about the position Disney took, and it seems like he's decided to retaliate against us, including the naming of a new board to oversee the property and the business. In effect, it seems to punish a company for its exercise of constitutional right. And that just seems really wrong to me." Iger went on to accuse the governor of being anti-business, fighting words in today's GOP. And now we get to the extremely wonky but extremely juicy legal details of how Disney actually pulled this off. Because Disney's lawyers say that everything they did was strictly in accordance with the law, and if they're right, it will be thanks in part to an ancient legal principle which has bedeviled law students for generations. How many generations? Well, a lot. In fact, we have to go all the way back to the 17th century in England to the very real and very much less woke kingdom of Charles I, who reigned until 1649 when he literally lost his head. Literally. But in 1647, Henry Frederick Howard, the Earl of Arundel and Surrey, was faced with a problem. By law, the eldest of his 4 sons was supposed to inherit his estate. Unfortunately, that son, Thomas, was legally insane and incapable of managing the Earl's vast landholdings. Furthermore, it was unlikely, although not impossible, that Thomas would produce a son of his own to inherit the estate. And so the Earl and his esteemed lawyer, Sir Orlando Bridgman, devised a complicated plan to divide the land and accompanying titles among the 4 sons upon the Earl's death. The will took into account multiple contingencies, with clauses shifting assets around at some undetermined future date if Thomas should die without an heir. And furthermore, the Earl liked this crazy contraption so much that his will imposed this plan to rotate assets among multiple future generations. But by 1682, the Earl had died, although not at the guillotine, and his second and third sons, Henry and Charles, were locked in an epic legal dispute which came to be known as the Duke of Gloucester's case. Henry argued that the complex scheme of shifting ownership dictated by his father's will was illegal because it tied up property for too long. And the court agreed, thus creating what became known as the rule against perpetuities, a legal concept so famously complicated that it has been included on every bar exam for decades as a kind of hazing ritual for the legal profession. In essence, the court held that it was bad public policy to allow landowners to lock up property forever, i.e. in perpetuity. And at the time, England was rapidly transitioning from a feudal society to one based on capitalism and trade, and so it made sense that the court decided that allowing landowners to wall off great swaths of the country's assets from sale would be a hindrance to the new mercantile economy. And this has become a foundational principle of English and American common law. We don't like rules that say things can't be sold, and we really don't like imposing restrictions on land sale or use by future owners. So over the years, this rule against perpetuities has been reduced to a simple axiom. no interest is good unless it must vest, if at all, no later than 21 years after some life and being at the creation of the interest. Okay, so maybe that's not particularly that simple, but in plain interest, the law will not allow you to dictate the ownership of property forever. The best you can do is pick someone who is alive at the time that the document is signed and peg your instructions to that person's lifespan plus a maximum of 21 years after they die. That person is known as a, quote, life and being, commonly referred to as a measuring life, and that person doesn't have to be a party to the contract. You can make a measuring life Miley Cyrus or Barack Obama or your brother's new baby. It doesn't matter. It just has to be someone alive at the time of the contract. All right, so how does this work in practice? Well, let's say that Scrooge McDuck wants to leave his mansion to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. In his will, he writes, "I leave my home to my beloved nephews for life, and then to their children when the last of them reaches the age of 25. Now, in theory, Huey, Dewey, and Louie could father children, or ducklings, on the last day of their lives. So this will violates the rule against perpetuities because it exceeds the measuring lives, that's Huey, Dewey, and Louie, by more than 21 years. But change 25 to 21 and say my nephew's lives plus 21 years, and it's probably all good. So what does this have to do with Ron DeSantis trying to burn down Mickey's clubhouse? Well, Florida, like most states, has modified its rule against perpetuities. It's no longer 21 years. In fact, in 2022, the state changed the rule from 360 years to 1,000 years, which is pretty optimistic considering how much of the state's population lives in coastal areas, which could be affected by sea level rise. But Disney and the RCID board knew that DeSantis and his allies in Tallahassee would be on the hunt for any possible way to void the declaration that strips his appointees of power over the company. Remember, the RCID board and Disney just watched the legislature pass multiple laws aimed directly at them, and they know that he's not above enacting a 17-minute rule against perpetuities that only applies to special districts established in 1967. So to protect the company from that eventuality, they inserted this clause, quote, "If the perpetual term of this declaration is deemed to violate the rule against perpetuities or any similar law or rule, this declaration shall continue in effect until 21 years after the death of the last survivor of the descendants of King Charles III, King of England, living as of the date of this declaration." And you should know, in May, King Charles will be officially inaugurated as King of England. He has 2 sons, 5 grandchildren who are living as of the date of this declaration. So for the purposes of this contract, they are the measuring lives. Prince William's children are Prince George, age 9, Princess Charlotte, age 7, and Prince Louis, who is 4. Prince Harry's children with his wife Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, are Prince Archie, who is 3, his baby sister, Princess Lilibet Diana Mountbatten Windsor, born June 4th, 2021 in Santa Barbara, California. As the youngest of King Charles's descendants living at the time of this contract, she is statistically the likeliest to be the ultimate measuring life of this contract.
Behind me is the Matterhorn, and the fun bit of trivia is that in order to extend the contractual period even further, Disney has actually purchased the rights to King Charles III. He will be cryogenically frozen so that he will actually never die and be interned in the Matterhorn so that all of the contractual obligations will go on basically forever.
So kids, that's how Mickey Mouse enlisted a real-life American princess to protect the fake Magic Kingdom in a real-life battle to protect the First Amendment. Yes, because Floridians love it when you antagonize the state's largest employer.
Wait, so they make a
I have
law
to admit,
that
coming
the
to
government
Disneyland
cannot fuck with them
alone as an adult is a very strange
until
experience.
the death of someone?
The things I do for this channel.
Meanwhile, the new board vows to fake until they make it,
What?
passing a resolution restoring their power. But for now, they are pretty much out of a job, and if DeSantis keeps going, the 460,000 people that Disney employs in Florida will be out of a job as well. So they could really benefit from today's sponsor, 80,000 Hours. They're a nonprofit that helps people find...
So Disney has what? So Disney has a law that if the governor continues, they can just pack up their bags and leave. And the law protects them from everything. Holy. Very complicated. I watched some cherry blossoms. Oops. I didn't upset. I don't know how to draw a hand, I'm sorry. Ah, so bad. So bad. Watermelon. Yes, not bad. Not bad, not good. Let's get the thing. Ah. Ah, so bad. How do I draw a human body? Please, God. NPC. Mad. Sucks. Closest. Ah! Hideous. Hideous monstrosity I created. They come out pretty good. Yeah, horrible. Wait, the boobs. The boobs. There we go. This came out horrible. Wait, why does my screen looks better than the fucking tablet? What is this? Ah. Ah.
Featured modded content, and in the eyes of Nintendo, that is a sin more unforgivable than murder. So they threw the book at him. They were coming with the meat. They tried to give him the business. They issued 2 strikes, and it wasn't just modded content they targeted, by the way. They also just targeted other videos as well on other games. A lot of it did feature mods, but some of them were just vanilla gameplay videos that they absolutely had a conniption over. Nintendo for a long time has historically shown that they hate their fans and absolutely despise when people play their games or enjoy their games in ways that they didn't plan for or in ways that they don't approve of. So for Point Crow showing mods and having fun making content around mods, they, started screaming bah humbug and shaking their fist at the clouds, and then hired their legal team of assassins to do as much damage to him as possible. And if it was up to Nintendo, they probably would have publicly hung Point Crow to make an example out of him for daring to play their games in a way they didn't intend for people to play them. Would have had him face the fucking firing squad. The reason I'm even mentioning all of this before talking about today's story is because it's only been 3 days and Nintendo has already upped the ante on how evil they can be and how unbelievably cruel they are. Like, they made, I made a claim in that video that they don't listen to the community, they don't care about, negative reputation that they have or community backlash. They don't listen to it, they just kind of brush it off like it's just, little squeaking dog toys that they can just ignore. They don't care what the people are saying, they're not listening. But now, I'm almost convinced they must have heard what the community was saying about how evil they were and said, oh, you think that's bad? Well, watch this. And then they went even harder into degeneracy. So, what they've done, or what was revealed to the public today, is that they have completely ruined a man's life. And I'm not exaggerating. They are putting a man in debt to them for the rest of his life. There's a guy named Gary Bowser, and I'm not making this up. This isn't an alias. His name is fucking Gary Bowser. This sounds like fanfic. This sounds like the plot to the new Mario Bros. Movie. Like, it actually sounds made up, but it's real. Gary Bowser was working with a company called Team Executor. They were a hacking group that would hack consoles for profit, and one of their biggest products was for Switch. They would basically jailbreak the Switch and they'd sell it and make money off it, and Gary Bowser was one of the prominent members of this team, allegedly. And a couple of years ago, he got caught, and he served 40 months in jail. His time in jail is coming to a conclusion now, and he's about to be released, but he's not off the hook yet. In fact, he's onto an even deeper hook, one that is going to be a life of servitude to Nintendo, because they are coming after him for an additional $10 million plus that he will have to pay back over the course of the rest of his life. He is going to have to forfeit 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo until he can pay off his $10 million plus debt to them, because he was part of that hacking group. That is a legitimate, life-ruining obligation that he will have to fulfill. Now, I want to make it clear, Gary Bowser is not a hero. He is not a saint. He was part of a group that was knowingly breaking the law for profit. He wasn't doing anything, just. He wasn't some, holy figure, breaking the rules for the benefit of everyone. They were very much in it just to make money off of all of this. He knew it was wrong, and what he's done is illegal. But I would argue spending 40 months in jail is punishment that fits the crime. I don't think they needed to add on an additional fucking generational debt that he and his grandkids wouldn't even be able to pay. Now, of course, his family's not going to be obligated to pick up the tab on the $10 million plus that he owes when he dies, but you get the point. The amount of money that Nintendo is forcing him to pay back over the course of his lifetime is one that could never be fulfilled by him and his kids working and his grandkids working and maybe even his great-grandkids working. It is an absurd punishment. Once again, I understand what he did was wrong and he's not a good guy, but this is just beyond excessive. Nintendo is a multi-billion-dollar corporation that's now face-fucking one random average guy in particular, forcing him to pay back a debt that he will never be able to repay. That $10 or $14 million means absolutely nothing to Nintendo. They wiped their ass with that amount of cash. Meanwhile, that means that Gary Bowser will never be able to live a normal life. He's going to be constantly paying this back forever. He's going to die with negative $10 million to his name. Like, he won't even be able to afford a coffin to be buried in. Like, it's just so far into the realm of lunacy here. And I actually imagine Nintendo celebrating this victory with handshakes all around and then laughing at the misery of Gary Bowser, who now has to send 25 to 30% of his income to this company every single month. Where once again, I imagine once they receive those checks, they throw it right in the trash can and forget about it, because that amount of money is completely meaningless to them. Anyway, the situation is wild, but this is kind of the story, like the general overview of it. I went over it more on stream, so I'll just play some clips of that. You honestly couldn't have scripted a better story, but it's real. And he had been sentenced to jail. Nintendo actually pursued action against him. He had made, I think like 300K from all of his like hacking. And he spent 40 months in jail and he just got released. And now he's going to have to pay 25 to 30% of his income every single month to Nintendo for the rest of his life. And he will still not be able to ever pay that off. So long, Gary Bowser. Pretty sure chat made that joke when we talked about him 2 years ago too. Which is still a fire joke, by the way. So he's paid $175 of his 10 million plus debt. So he's chipping away at it. He's making progress, ever so slightly. They wanted to send a message to other Switch hackers. It was a very significant moment for us. It's the purchase of video games that sustain Nintendo and the Nintendo ecosystem, and it is the games that make the people smile. It's for that reason that we do all we can to prevent games on Nintendo systems from being stolen. Heroes. You guys are such fucking noble saints. Thank you, Nintendo. Ensure that this man will never live his life without the fear of Nintendo down his neck. And then also, while you're at it, why not strike a few more YouTubers who make videos on your games? You guys love to make people smile. The company just got a fine. They didn't like lock up and throw in the slammer every single person there. Meanwhile, Gary Bowser, he got the book thrown at him. He got the wood. It must have been something personal because his last name is literally Bowser. I have no doubt Gary Bowser got into hacking the Switch specifically because his last name's Bowser, so he's like, fuck it, I'll do it. Might as well. I'll fulfill my namesake. 100%. Successfully argued that Bowser and Team Executor had caused Nintendo to suffer $65 million in losses due to console hacking software and devices used to play pirated Nintendo Switch games. I don't recall that. 65 million from the console hacking software? I gotta be honest with you, Chief, that seems like a bunch of baloney. I don't know why the number 300K keeps popping into my head. Maybe that's what Gary Bowser personally stood to gain, or personally gained from all of this? Or maybe I'm just way off the mark, but I really thought, or I vividly remember, like a report saying he had made like 300K from it all. But who knows? That could be wrong. So, okay, so that is what he made for himself. He himself made 300K. I saw someone on Twitter say that they would honestly fake their own death in this case. Dude needs a new dust filter for his Hoover Max Extract Pressure Pro Model 60. Fucking true. He's gonna need a Hoover Max ASAP. Does he even have a job? Well, he's just now getting out of prison after spending 40 months there. And he had a job in prison where he paid off $75 of his debt. So I would wager a guess he doesn't currently have a job. He's probably still hunting for one.
Yeah, those are some good titties. God. Poor guy.
Republicans and right-wingers are attacking Mr. Beast right now. Right now, we're seeing exactly what I said would happen. Last week, Mr. Beast took to Twitter to defend his friend Chris Tyson, who recently revealed that he's been receiving hormone replacement therapy, with Chris not coming out as any specific identity yet, but in his Twitter bio saying he uses any pronouns. And while literally the only thing Mr. Beast has done is not actively kick out one of his oldest friends from his videos and responded to a tweet with, "Yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris is not my nightmare. He's my fucking friend and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off." Based off of some of the reactions we've seen from right-wingers, you would have thought like Mr. Beast launched a video titled like "Last to Leave the Circle Gets Free Gender Reassignment Surgery." Though I will say we've seen a range of reactions using different strategies. Some, like Ben Shapiro, are framing it as, you know, Mr. Beast is actually kind of the victim of the situation. Where Shapiro saying he doesn't want to expose his kids to content featuring trans or gender non-conforming people, and that other parents would have those same questions and concerns. And
that's not the fault of Mr. Beast. That's the fault of Chris Tyson.
And so he's more playing the business angle like we've seen others do, applying pressure but not fully going after Mr. Beast's throat just yet. But then you have others going a little bit further, like Matt Walsh, saying Mr. Beast is sold out to the trans cults. And then you have others going even further, like Steven Crowder, saying that Mr. Beast is shoving the trans agenda on children. And in that, among a number of transphobic things, he says, you know, step one is to start the subtle infusion into children's programming, with him making it sound like Mr. Beast is part of some like larger batshit conspiracy. Which again, all of this is happening. Mr. Beast is being targeted because he replied to a tweet saying he didn't like people being transphobic to his friend. Also, when I say people, I mean like literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. He just didn't leave his friend out to dry. You know, looking at this whole situation, there's really no reason to believe that this campaign against Mr. Beast is gonna stop. And that's for a number of reasons, including for these right-wing talking heads being anti-trans is a winning culture war issue when it comes to their fan base. And with Mr. Beast having literally one of the biggest audiences in the world for content that is inherently non-political, there's a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, and a lot of money to be siphoned. And so really the only thing I don't know with this situation is how Mr. Beast is going to move forward, because this is really the first time that his business in any way has been kind of challenged. Right, well, different, it makes me think back to like Taylor Swift when she was being pressured by the people around her to not speak out about politics, but she still chose to despite the risk of alienating half of her audience. So obviously with Taylor Swift, that was more proactive rather than kind of having to be reactive. But as far as how all this is actually going to play out, we're going to have to wait to see. And in the meantime, I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. And then, I guess really quick, I should address this since it shows up on camera. This is not a fashion choice. I had an accident on my hike yesterday. Wish it was a cooler story. I was finishing up a hike. I was on the descent part. I was kind of tired. There was this kind of older couple coming towards me. The path in general was narrow, but there was a spot that I could jump to get out of the way. So I do that. It's a little hop. The ground there has a lot of loose rocks. It's essentially like gravel. I land weird, hand slam into the ground because, you know, I got to protect the moneymaker. I lose like 3 tiny chunks of skin, we'll call it. Hand now covered in blood and dirt. And it, of course, you know, it stung and stuff. But you know what actually stung the worst? The couple that I was getting out of the way of, they didn't stop or even say in passing, like, you okay? It was like I didn't exist. And it killed my faith in humanity for the rest of the walk back to the car where I could bandage myself up. And I just keep trying to tell myself that was an outlier, that 99% or maybe 9 out of 10 of the people that are watching this, without me being me, they see someone eat shit, they go like, hey, you okay? Even if it's a question filled with a little bit of laughter because you watch someone eat shit in front of you. And understand, in no way am I like the victim of the situation. I was so disappointed. I was like, fuck, is this where we're at? But anyway, that's just me explaining why I'm gonna have a bandage on my hand for the next little bit. Also, I won't be showing you the wound in this video. It still might be up on my Instagram story, but I feel like I traumatized some people by posting that. But yeah, that was a story about nothing. And then babies screaming, it's one of the worst sounds in the world. And it's a sound most of us will have to live through at some point in our lives, even if we don't have kids. Right? Until the robots take over and we all get our private jetpacks, like we're gonna have to take public transportation to some degree. And there's always a chance that there might be a baby on the flight. And we all react differently to it. Before I had kids in the long ago, I would get very angry. I would feel very personally victimized. And then when I became a parent, I realized, oh no, my God, those poor parents, not only are they having to deal with and try to calm down a crying baby, they feel all the eyes on them, judging them, hating them. Or fast forward to now, and I just turn on noise canceling and I go about my day and ignore other humans like a regular person. But understandably, everyone reacts different to a crying baby on a plane, with one man's reaction going incredibly viral and spawning a massive debate. Whereas the video opens with a group of 3 flight crew members huddled around a guy while a nearby passenger records. Apparently, the flight was stuck in a holding pattern for weather, and the guy says that the baby's been crying for 40 minutes. When the staff asks him to stop yelling, he responds with this take.
Okay, because you're yelling. So is the baby! Okay, so you're a man. Did that motherfucker pay extra to yell? Okay. No. You would shut up.
The video is almost 4 minutes long. The guy's yelling for nearly all of it. And while the whole thing's incredibly off-putting, at one point it got so bizarre, I was like, is this a bit? Is this a prank?
If they put cuffs on that kid, I'm good with going to jail. I'm about to put the kid is the same.
And once we get to the end of the video, he's seen arguing with security in the airport before being escorted away. And, you know, the response here has been mixed. Some criticizing the parents for not calming the child down, saying 40 minutes is excessive, or even saying babies don't belong on planes. So on the other end, you have people saying if you can't handle a baby crying in a public space, don't go in public spaces. And as far as my takeaway, I mean, one, we all understand this man snapped. Like, in no world am I defending him. But as far as the reaction to the baby, I think it really depends more on the context. Like, is the parent genuinely not trying? Most often than not, that's not the case. Because again, the sound of a crying baby is one of the worst sounds in the world, and they're closest to that sound. But on the other side of this, I understand the frustration of all the other passengers. You know, they made the choice not to drag their loin fruit onto the plane or have them in the first place, and yet someone else's problem's now their problem and they're stuck in it. I get it. Again, it doesn't excuse this man's behavior, but I do think it would make sense for airlines to be able to offer certain flights without kids under a certain age. But hey, that's a story, some of my mindless rambling, and now I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts here? And then, never before in human history have you seen a human specimen quite like this. Meet the 47-year-old Scottish ultra-marathon runner who this month got 3rd place in a 50-mile race from Manchester to Liverpool. And her stats are out of this fucking world, with tracking data showing she ran a mile in just 1 minute and 40 seconds. Now, when I say that, it might raise a red flag for you, because that's 36 miles per hour. Not even a methed out Usain Bolt's running that fast. So how'd she do it? Is she super human? No, the answer is always the simplest thing. She just cheated. Apparently, she took a car for around 2.5 miles of the race and then just got out and kept running. So she's now been disqualified, but her defense is she wasn't actually trying to cheat, saying what had actually happened was a non-malicious miscommunication. Telling the BBC she got lost halfway through the race, her leg felt sore, she began to limp. So when she sees a friend on the side of the course, she says she accepted a ride in his car to the next checkpoint to tell marshals she was pulling out of the race, but claiming when she got there, the marshals told her, "You will hate yourself if you stop." So she said she continued non-competitively, even saying she chose not to overtake the runner in front so as not to interfere in the race. But then when she crossed the finish line non-competitively, there was a medal and a 3rd place trophy just suddenly thrust into her arms, and she went along with it, posing for photos. And later telling the BBC she kind of just spaced out and wasn't thinking clearly, saying, "I was tired and jet lagged and felt sick. I made a massive error accepting the trophy and should have handed it back." But you have people saying that excuse is a little bit suspect because the race's director said she didn't make any effort to return the award over the subsequent 7 days. Though you have defenders saying, to be fair, it would be very odd if she intentionally cheated here, noting that this race is just so small compared to some of the other ones she's competed in, like the 255-mile ultramarathon in Taiwan that she won, setting a world record. And then let's talk about you beautiful bastards for a minute. You know, we're only 11 issues into the newly launched Morning Daily Dip newsletter, and the feedback's been amazing. You know, the feedback's one of the specific reasons that we launched it. Each day, tens of thousands of you are reading and sharing the newsletter, thousands more taking their daily Dipper polls. Sometimes it gives us a greater understanding about which stories you want to see more of, as well as extra insight on stories and topics that we talk about, like we learned with EVs. 81% of you don't have one yet, but you want an electric vehicle. When we talked about that creepy politician out of Missouri that was talking about like kids getting married at 12, we learned that 72% of you think that the legal marriage age should be at least 18. Also, while it's an incredibly biased poll, I was happy to see that around 90% of you are loving the Daily Dip so far, which honestly I'll say is way higher than we expected at launch, because, you know, we're figuring it out, what we enjoy most. Which is also, I gotta say, if you haven't signed up yet, do it. Join the Daily Dip fam. It's free. You receive quick tastes of the news that you might have missed with the PDS, along with extra news stories, as well as our daily polls, fun facts, and more. It'll keep you informed, sometimes put a smile on your face, and let you get back to your day in 3 to 5 minutes. So just go to thedailydip.co or click the link in the description to join for free. And then Fox News and Dominion have reached a massive settlement, but this is not where it ends. Right? Because yes, the two have been engaged in a lengthy, high-profile legal battle over claims the network aired election lies, with a long-awaited trial supposed to kick off yesterday, but instead, the two sides reached a last-minute agreement to settle for a whopping $787 million. That is how much it was worth to them to make sure that Rupert Murdoch or any of the Fox News talking heads did not have to speak under oath in court, with some outlets reporting that this is the single biggest publicly disclosed settlement ever in an American defamation case. Though, notably, it is still way less than the $1.6 billion Dominion initially sought with the suit. Now, notably here, the exact terms of the deal have not been made clear to the public, but we saw in a statement yesterday Fox saying, "We acknowledge the court's rulings finding certain claims about Dominion to be false. This settlement reflects Fox's continued commitment to the highest journalistic standards." And that specific admission there is actually super important. It is a key thing to take away because it could have implications for the other legal battles that Fox is still facing, because the network is also facing a $2.7 billion defamation suit from another voting technology company, Smartmatic, with that being over similar claims that Fox made. What's more, experts say that the historically high amount Fox paid in the Dominion settlement also sets a precedent for how much it'll pay in similar cases like the Smartmatic suit. But even with the amounts that we're talking about here, you have some saying it's still not enough of a deterrent. Right? Some mentioning specific numbers, noting that last year Fox News reportedly brought in just under $14 billion. Right, so the settlement we've seen here, the possible settlements we'll see in the future, while sizable, still kind of can be categorized as the cost of doing business. So the specific business in question here being lying to the American public, sowing doubt in democracy, which is why so many wanted to see this go to trial to see what actually would come out on the stand. But hey, that's where we are now. We're gonna have to wait to see how all this plays out. And then there are a lot of people that are pissed off about the Paralympics TikTok account, so let's talk about it. Right, because this controversy largely deals with the official Paralympics page sharing videos of their athletes on kind of meme sounds.
Left, 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 left. Two more times.
Can't go over it, we can't go under it. Oh no, we got to go through it.
Those videos sparking some heated debate,
The
some calling
fuck?
those videos wildly offensive, arguing it's completely dehumanizing behavior, saying Paralympians deserve the same amount of respect as any other world-class performing athlete, and saying a TikTok account full of videos with a joke being their disabilities is disgusting and unprofessional. Some also comparing the Paralympics page to the Olympics page, where there are still some memey TikToks, but most are just celebrating the athleticism of the competitors rather than kind of being jokey. And so with this
If
debate
I
growing,
thought
we saw
nipples
several
that
Paralympians
bad.
being interviewed. And there we saw mixed reactions. You had a British table tennis player who supports the page, saying a lot of the videos I've seen on TikTok of people complaining are from able-bodied people, and saying we can also make light of our situation, and if I fall out of my chair in front of my friends and I'm not injured, we would make fun of it and we would laugh. Also, another supporter, a wheelchair basketball athlete, saying the Paralympics is a great opportunity to celebrate difference, and if we're going to celebrate the great things, we can also laugh at the funny things. And arguing, I think doing these videos and getting people to view them is just basically getting us noticed and recognizing it's okay to have a disability, and it's fine, normalize it, feel comfortable around it, and have a laugh with it. But there were also people who saw it differently, like one English amputee soccer player saying that instead of promoting incredible athletes, the page just mocks them for views. And that was a very common critique that we saw, that they've kind of lost sight of their legal trouble. And you're gonna find yourself in an insider report like these weight loss influencers like Jordan just did, because she and many others worked with an app called DietBet, and for the last 5 years, the general plan was to get followers to join the app, join a weight loss challenge, and then the creator gets a small cut. But the issue that popped up for a lot was it was never clear that it was an ad, and their followers didn't always know, which is a major problem. And while yes, it is on the creator to put the disclosure, it didn't help that DietBet and its parent company Way Better also didn't make it clear in contracts that the creators had to disclose the relationship, or even giving examples of posts that explicitly lacked the standard hashtag ad or hashtag sponsored, which arguably made it seem like it wasn't necessary. And so now a lot of these creators are in a tough spot because they're gonna be lucky if the FTC doesn't come after them, and they're possibly gonna take a hit from their audiences who go, oh, so how am I supposed to trust you? Because again, the very least you can do with your audience is to let them know when they're being advertised to. And then first it was the French, then the Brits, then the Germans, and now the Canadians are joining this chorus of workers around the world saying enough is enough when it comes to inflation. With nearly a third of federal workers there, or over 155,000 people walking off the job this morning, making this the biggest strike Canada has seen in over 3 decades. And the union's demands mostly focus on pay, as well as other issues like remote work and working conditions. With the first group at 35,000 tax workers initially asking for a more than 30% wage increase over 3 years, and the second group of some 120,000 Treasury Board workers asking for just 13.5% over the same period. We have the Canadian government saying its proposal of just 9% is fair and competitive, and arguing that the union's demands are unaffordable and would severely impact its ability to deliver services to Canadians. To which seemingly the workers responded, we'll show you what severely impacted really means. Because while essential services will remain open, others may be either delayed or just shut down, with this including passport renewals and immigration, airport and border crossing, and everyone's #1 favorite, tax returns, with those being a key thing because the deadline for filings is May 1st. But while talks are ongoing throughout this strike, there are a couple of reasons why this might not end in the union's favor. First, both sides have actually been negotiating for 2 years now, so the fact that they still haven't come to even a tentative agreement is very telling. And secondly, the government could pass mandatory back-to-work legislation, which is exactly what happened after the last federal strike of this size back in 1991. Though, I will say this time it's a little more up in the air whether Justin Trudeau could actually muster the parliamentary support for such a bill.
Sexy Phil, he's not sexy, sexy Phil, he's sexy.
Oh, fuck. Songs that make you feel like a warrior. Give it to me. I'm scared of a copyright strike. Art is hard. Your art sucks. Your art sucks. Yeah, my art sucks. Look at this. Look at this garbage. This is so garbage. Look at this. This is so garbage. I copied that. My art is garbage. I can never improve. Doesn't love you. Nice.
Oh, hey, Dead Island 2, you look nice today. That's some rockin' zombie gore you've got there. Look at how the brains splatter. Oh wow, you're funny too. I love that.
We are going to be so famous when this goes live.
So what are your thoughts on how to make melee combat interesting in the long term, or like how to tell a good story? Oh. Okay. Oh, what are my plans on Saturday? Actually, I have to wash my hair. On one hand, Dambuster Studios has delivered a charming one-liner. There just isn't much to it that hasn't been done better in a dozen other zombie.
Why was that so cringe? I don't care. I bought the game
since
already.
the original
so
Dead
I don't
Island
care.
came out more than a decade ago, including and especially Dying Light 1 and 2, which notably were made by Techland, the studio that created Dead Island. Even though it lacks originality, Dead Island 2 still competently executes on its over-the-top LA-based zombie parody and injects some much-needed Botox into a series that's been languishing for far too long, making Hollywood's red carpets even redder by applying generous helpings of gore was laugh-out-loud funny and time generally well spent.
What? Does he hate the game or like the game?
This is a lighthearted first-person action game where committing unspeakable acts of violence against the zombie hordes of Hell-A is the most mundane thing about it. After choosing one of 6 virus-resistant playable characters aboard a failed plane evacuation, you're thrown gore-first into the ridiculous streets of Southern California, where absolutely no one seems to be taking the apocalypse seriously.
So, all these explosions and fun, you're filming it?
Yep.
Alone or with up to 2 co-op pals, you'll drop-kick and disembowel your way through a cattle call of the undead over the course of this 30-hour adventure, during which you'll meet a bevy of larger-than-life quest givers that include this drug-addled rock star.
Sorry, man. Big evacuation party, you know. Oh, shit. We gotta get to the evac.
And this geriatric former movie star who gets his fashion tips from Hugh Hefner. Like a cheesy B-movie, the story makes so little effort to produce anything approaching coherence that the attempt itself may in fact be sarcastic, and that fits in quite nicely with the absurdist tone of an adventure where some zombies have hives of aggressive bees stuck in their torsos. What few twists and turns exist in this familiar apocalyptic tale aren't terribly surprising or interesting, and that highlights one of the many ways Dead Island 2 feels like a game I've played several times before. The good news is, although it lacks storytelling substance, that meandering odyssey at least has some very funny writing and memorable characters throughout, and the fact that both are completely unhinged works to Dead Island 2's advantage.
You like horror movies? I did.
One chapter had me searching for a squeamish assistant on the set of a horror movie featuring a giant acid-spitting mechanical spider, while this side quest had me slaying zombies in creative ways for the benefit of a social media influencer looking to boost her clout. The numerous ways in which the developers expertly poke fun at the stereotypical vanity and vapidness of the Los Angeles setting is reminiscent of Grand Theft Auto V's Los Santos in the best kind of way. Great writing is helped along by high-quality voice performances as you recklessly charge your way through whatever preposterous hijinks before you, and that's hands down the best part of Dead Island 2.
Someone didn't want anybody or anything to get out.
If you've ever braved a virtual zombie apocalypse before, then you'll be quite familiar with the combat formula that this cheeky iteration sticks quite close to. You start with basic melee weapons like baseball bats and hammers before crafting more elaborate tools of destruction, like an electric katana or the demon love child of a sledgehammer and a flamethrower, and eventually guns too. But while the more eccentric melee options have interesting designs, in practice they don't feel much different than their unmodded peers, aside from applying various status effects, so they aren't as exciting as they look. The melee creations at your disposal are also far less original and crazy than the kinds of bonkers weapons we get to play with in the Dead Rising series. You definitely won't be seeing any umbrella lasers or sledgehammers with grenades duct taped to them, for example.
But isn't that a different
Because
game?
of that, the novelty with Dead Island 2's by-the-numbers close quarters combat wears thin quite quickly. Despite how they look and how they sound on paper, there's simply a lack of variety in the way the available tools of destruction.
They are mixed match in different game. Like, this is a different game. We got different type of setting and funny. I mean,
Definitely won't be seeing any. Multiplayer is the best remedy for staving off repetition, since it's a laughing riot when friends are there to help you drop-kick enemies off of rooftops. One thing that took some tension out of it, though, is that alone or as a team, failure becomes an increasingly rare occurrence. You unlock ample tools to keep yourself standing atop the pile of undead corpses instead of being swallowed beneath it, but the threats don't keep pace and there aren't any difficulty options to up the challenge. For example, it's crazy that a perfectly timed dodge or parry, both of which have a very generous window, makes you invulnerable as you execute the offending zombie, restoring a good chunk of health in the process, if you've got the right skill equipped. As a result, I never felt.
alright, so he played the most easiest gamer journalist difficulty then. What did they give it?
Dead Island 2 is a hysterical Los Angeles-infused satire that does most things well enough, but feels like a stroll down the Walk of Fame of celebrated zombie games I've already played, without adding many new ideas of its own. In fact, aside from the stellar comedy bits, I can think of very few things that Dead Island 2 does better than last year's Dying Light 2.
Who cares? Just give me the moment.
Still, if you've ever wanted to put your Wolverine claws straight...
A 7. Fuck off. I thought we were gonna give it like a 5 or 6. 7. What? Ah. 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 What? Okay. Can I watch this?
Bom seluruh kota dan seluruh orang yang ada di dalamnya.
Look, I know this is deliberately extreme to put the fear of fungus among us, but who goes from 4 deaths and maybe 14 cases unaccounted for to bombing an entire city? Those 14 missing people may not even be infected. There's playing it safe, and then there's blowing up the planet to make sure it doesn't get hit by an asteroid.
Do I look like I'm infected?
Judging a cordyceps by its cover, it's what's inside that counts, Ellie.
She found me after I was bitten.
And she didn't shoot you.
Clearly not.
Really should have told Joel and Ellie straight away. Regardless, she definitely should have mentioned it before entering a building that she hoped was filled with fireflies. Also, while killing off Tess sends the message that no character on the series is safe, I'm still pretty pissed off that I only got 2 Anna Torv-filled episodes. It's Anna f***ing Torv!
Boom.
Throwing hand grenades into the marinade of fuel at the feet of humanity's only hope for survival.
We're not leaving her!
Yes, you are, and you should be. And if you want me to like your character more, Ellie, then stop being such a f***ing kid. And of course, the lighter doesn't work. And by that, I mean it won't work for all of the predictable amounts of tension building some time until it suddenly does work.
Ew.
Fungalingus. I'm sure this shot, much like the last shot of the first episode, means something if you played the game, but I haven't played the game, and therefore this is just 30 seconds of unneeded post-apocalyptic building porn. And I hate porn. Wait.
That's good, bro. Look at this. wonder how much would it cost to live there in Japan. They have bulletin boards? What day and age is this? I know that there's a lot of housing in Japan that gets abandoned and they're selling it for cheap. So the housing market over in Japan, I think right now, next year, will be lit for houses. Because old people. So how can I move over there? What? Bye bye. How much would it cost for me to move over there in Japan? Wait, that's a supercar. Ah, that's good stuff. That looked like a supercar. Oh, this is fine.
Yeah, I believe, yeah, not far from Shinjuku, like the west entrance. Yeah.
Ambulance. Taza de saga. Boom, 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 boom. so bad at that. The fuck is the noise? Sick. Yo, I know that place. I seen it in an anime. I also seen a YouTube video about a street performer performing there. And golly gee. Kabukicho? Wait a minute. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Holy. Love Hotel. Oh my god. Oh my god, that person saw the camera was like, nope. Wait, again? Wait, Jurassic Park, wait. 8 months ago. What the fuck? Kawaii. Why was this the most viewed part? Because of her? Trying to get rid. That's a tiny hit. Wait, what is that? The dose. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I think I know the artist. I follow them on Twitter. Wait a minute. The dose. Zoom in enhance. I think I know the artist. I think I saw the art on Twitter. I tapped the dose and it's not the dose. Oh shit. I thought I did. Toho Cinema. Hey yo, what up? Oh my god, golf girls. Hey, what is that? 2022 number 1. Can't see shit. It's an anime. Can't see shit. Fuck. Seven 300. Why this dude just standing there in the middle of the road? Is he a guard? Whoa, that fat bastard. Oh, the bunny girl. Boba. That's from the image. What? The fuck is the link we're looking at, bitches? Goofy Whoa. He's a gangster. What the fuck? Why did he make that noise? I thought, who the fuck is he? You goofy ass. Goofy ass, Netore, whatever. Oh my god, her legs might be killing. I'm taking a picture right here. This cosplay is about to be cosplay. Goofy, yeah. Goes back. Whoa. Yo, I have a camera. Fuck you. Bro, what the? This dude carrying a purse. Yo. Is that a thing? I'm not gonna drawing. My head is so tiny. Yo, what? Whoa, wait, what is that? Is that a boss? Is that a hostess bar? Information. Chewy? Alright, now we go around. Now we walk back. Oh, a ramen shop. Wait, is that a Soblan? Suckers. Fuck you. That granny is scary. That store is covered in curry. Hell. Whoa, he coming. Oh man. Who's screaming? I'm just watching us walk around Japan. Ahí que hace mal. Por ahí. Why the face off? Can I watch this and not get it monetized?
50 seconds of logos. Hiking. Talk to We'll soon find out that Buck and Cletus aren't the troublemakers we think they are, so this use of the word is delivered as bait for our prejudice, and I will not be made to feel like the asshole.
I will rip your soul out, Daddy.
Kids. This Jeep commercial gets undermined by the Ford Taurus that beat them to the cabin.
This is my girl, Natalie.
Referring to your partner as my girl. Is she an Anna Chlumsky movie? A Temptation song? Also, who brings their girlfriend that none of this group have ever met to their sister's detox weekend? Couldn't she have just been one of the friends or a girlfriend that everybody knows? Natalie being a fifth wheel to the proceedings adds nothing. Also, discount Sherry Moon Zombie.
Oh, the heartbreaker from your car shop.
The doctor.
Actually, she's...
I'm a registered nurse.
Nurse. Right. Sorry.
This case of the mistaken occupation wastes our time with a momentary tension that will have little to no bearing on the rest of the movie.
You're supposed to be here 2 hours ago, man.
And that's our irresistibly charming Eric.
Just going to save us some time and go ahead and give 20 cents to Eric because he is as giant of an asshole as this introduction makes him seem. Michigan State. Also, Easter eggs. And yes, I know the Michigan State sweatshirt is technically an Easter egg as well, so I'll just sing it again. Happy?
Cross your heart.
Okay. Hope to die.
Reminding me of the unnerving shit I said as a kid. The well from The Ring somehow makes its way into this movie. Now all I want is a Samara versus Deadites movie. Give it to me. Or I will rip out your soul. Also, why does this shot look way too much like the posters for the fictional kid sheriff and the real holes?
Hopefully this still works.
Looking at the outside of this house and wanting this to work. Why the hell did they have to bring the dog? I guess I get the positive reinforcement the dog provides for Mia, but didn't she have a favorite stuffed animal or pillow that they could have brought? Because we all know something is going to happen to that poor dog. And why do you want me to hate you less than 10 minutes in Evil Dead 2013? Why?
Some teenagers probably just broke in here to drink beer, bump uglies.
I do not believe there is a boner alive that would attempt bumping uglies in this gross of a f***ing cabin. And if there is, that boner deserves a sin as well.
Let's make this place livable.
Did you bring brand new furniture and a couple 100 gallons of bleach, David? Because that would be a great start.
Do you remember that lullaby Mom used to sing us?
Did it go something like, daughter, don't you dare cry, or I will skip? Was it that? That's one of my favorites.
David, there's something you need to know.
You better come take a look at this thought in my mind cliche.
We already tried this whole thing back in Flint last summer.
Well, see, the first mistake you made, Olivia, was thinking anything good can come out of visiting Michigan.
David, when she breaks, and believe me, she will, we don't want to let her leave.
Yeah, but that might not be the best idea. What if she needs medical attention that Olivia is not equipped to provide? Or, gets possessed by a demon?
I can't stand the f***ing smell anymore!
Is it the smell that surrounds you?
I don't know what is wrong with you people, but there is something dead, and it reeks.
I'm sure Mia's senses are working overtime, XTC shout out and whatnot, but I do not believe that cabin doesn't have at least 47 different smells going on right now, and the majority of them would not be pleasant. Also, when they open the cellar door, they are clearly repulsed by the smell. There's no way a rug and a wooden cellar door would cover that stench. This is not an odor that would be specific to heroin addicts. Ah, f*** you, movie. We do not ever need to see needles going in or out of someone's skin. Show them loading up the needle, and we will believe the next action took place.
Careful. These steps are old and rotten.
Your mom's old and rotten. I mean, gratuitous foreshadowing. Also, who the f*** walks down into this cellar? Did all the f***ing blood by the entrance not give you pause?
I think it's back there.
Them investigating this smell instead of investigating a phone and calling the police. You know what? They don't show or reference a single phone in this whole movie. In 2011. See, this is when you leave the f***ing cabin. Oh, you're gonna keep investigating? Cool. The fact that this book was wrapped back up in barbed wire makes me think that someone from the opening made it out alive. So why would they leave the book? How could anyone that knew this book's true power just leave it lying around?
Clear those dead cats out back later.
The writers must have felt bad that Curiosity didn't kill those cats, so they made Curiosity about some cats killed 90% of this group. I don't even care if they washed it. Mia is drinking out of a glass they found in this house. This is weirdly the grossest cut in the entire movie. And let me remind you that this is a movie where Olivia cuts off half of her own face. Nothing like walking in the rain and catching pneumonia to kick a nasty drug habit. No one will be seated for the 25-second shot of the back of Eric's head. Someone took the time to put barbed wire all over that f***ing book, and yet Eric thinks, hey, this would be a great idea to cut it open. This book is so f***ed on the outside that if it isn't a book that unleashes demons to take over the world, then I would be asking for my money back. For an entity that is currently without a physical form, the terrain is definitely much more of an obstacle than one would expect.
Honda.
I actually like to think this was supposed to be Canada, because Canadians are way too nice for me not to think they're just trying to lure me back to their homes for some watered-down beer and a seance. No, 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 no. I don't care that this is an Evil Dead movie or that the main character is going through detox. We do not have to see her vomit. We never have to see anyone vomit in a movie. Stop it.
Please, God. Give me a break.
Getting out of the rain is something you could do without God's help, and it would probably be a great idea. Holy shit, Samara really is in this fucking movie. Are they really that surprised she escaped and took the car? They literally just saw her grab car keys. And while we're at it, if they really wanted to make sure Mia stayed, whose bright idea was it to leave the fucking keys out like this? I know it's sensible to avoid hitting someone when you suddenly see them standing in the middle of the road, but no one in the movie has done anything sensible up to this point. So starting now is the metaphorical equivalent of accelerating your car off the road into a ditch. Did this model of a Ford Taurus have airbags? Maybe, maybe not. Should she have been able to swim away from this? Maybe, maybe not. To be fair, if Mia wasn't getting possessed by a demon, she would at the very least have a serious bacterial infection from this pond water. She might have actually made out better with the demon possession. Taking the road less traveled. This thorny situation is some terrifyingly grotesque proper horror, and would have made a good case for a sin removal, if we could in any way understand why the demon's telekinetic abilities are confined to wood and wood-based products. Why does this look so familiar? Oh, I got it. What you want?
I am giving her the exact same treatment she would get at a hospital.
She drove into a ditch and hit her head on the steering wheel, so unless you brought a machine to scan her dome, then this is just not true, and Olivia should know that.
If we leave now, all of this mess will have been for nothing.
Not if you take her to a hospital, Olivia. It's not like the hospital is going to start giving her heroin. I can't tell if this lighting choice was made by Mia or the cinematographer. What we have here is proof of two things. One, that I am ready and willing to be the last one aboard a TikTok trend. And two, I don't need an app to be an album cover. I mean, an asshole. Movie established Eric as a high school teacher, not an archaeologist. We have no background to explain how he even knows what he's doing right now or where he got a Latin dictionary. David sees the hammer and they cut to Mia using the hammer. But we have no idea if this is a flashback or just a flash speculation.
Nobody could have known she would do something so twisted.
No, you should have known.
Oh, Natalie, you were so close to being excellent at cinema sins. Actually, you all should have known how unpredictable things were going to get after she crashed a car into a ditch, ran through a thorn bush, and started rambling about a woman in the woods. Unfortunately, there are no points for second place, only sins.
With any luck, it'll stop raining in a couple hours, and we'll be able to cross the creek in the morning.
Oh, he's serious.
You are all going to die tonight.
But I thought it was going to stop raining in a couple hours and they could cross the creek in the morning. Mia ruins everything. Ugh, not closing her mouth.
It's totally psychotic.
Olivia thinks this in any way explains the volume of vomit on her body right now.
I just gave her enough sedative to put a horse to sleep.
Would that not kill a human? Because you gave that to her when you thought you were only dealing with a human.
I'm scared that what's happening to me has something to do with the fucking witchcraft in the basement.
More like the witchcraft in your room, Eric. Being more concerned about washing your face than getting your friend the medicine she might need to survive.
Olivia, what are you doing in there?
Eric checks this situation on his own because knowing what he knows, this decision makes very little sense, keeping with the theme of confused motivations that runs throughout this movie. Clearly being in that house is a terrible idea, but that doesn't make this shed any more suited for performing medical procedures. This works.
He's losing too much blood.
Maybe he needs water and sugar, okay?
What he needs is for you to call a Lifestar helicopter. Once again, highlighting the fact that you all brought Mia out here to play doctor with apparently no way to contact emergency services in case Olivia administered enough sedative to put a horse to sleep.
I just gave her enough sedative to put a horse to sleep.
Which she did!
I read a passage from that book.
Reading.
Yeah?
Is Natalie seriously thinking about going down in the cellar to see what's up with the woman who just shot her own f***ing brother? I think Natalie is seriously thinking about going down in the cellar to see what's up with the woman who just shot her own f***ing brother. Movie shows us this soft-ass step again, because it's really important we keep getting reminded that it's not as hard as it used to be. We get it! Time has taken its toll, but you know what? It still works extra good. You just gotta give it more care and attention than you used to. Really, you can get plenty more years out of that shit. Natalie gets pulled into the cellar, but then the demon just waits for her to regain consciousness because it's not so much what you do for work, but that you have fun doing it. There's no conceivable way David put all these hooks, chains, and nails in place so fast that the demon formerly known as Mia couldn't get out before he was finished.
Once he feasts on 5 souls, the sky will bleed again, and the abomination will rise from hell.
It's kind of funny how the story uses convenience to subvert the morality of the characters. Like, had David just been a shitty brother and said he was too busy to make it this weekend, then there wouldn't be enough souls here to pay the soul toll, and the demon would have to get a regular job to support his family, I guess.
What kind of a virus makes a person cut off their face with a piece of glass?
If you give me a couple minutes on Twitter, I'm pretty sure I could find you a theory about one that does. So how do the demons pick which one of the guests gets to have the detached hand trick played on them? Is there a lottery? Is it an eeny, meeny, mo situation?
I had to do it. I felt much better now.
Natalie does a successful 127 hours in under 5 minutes, but Mia's kiss of death earlier makes this otherwise impressive feat a pointless padding of the blood time. Premature Evil Dead duration.
Hold on, baby. Hold on, please.
With a registered nurse being on hand to help Mia out, was there no other bandage-like material brought along that wasn't f***ing duct tape? Despite what everyone says, duct tape does not fix everything, especially open gaping wounds from chopped off appendages. And there is zero chance that duct tape is sanitary.
I promise that everything's gonna be fine. Okay? Okay, baby. They just cut her fucking arm off. Does that sound fine?
I hate Eric with the fire of several million suns, and he would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Inscriptions are confusing, sometimes contradictory.
Yeah, it's almost like you shouldn't have read any of it out loud, Eric, but here we are.
In order to stop this, the possessed must be cleansed, purified. The book describes 3 specific ways.
So the Necronomicon not only shows you how to unleash the evil beings, it also shows you how to put them back? That seems super contradictory for an evil book.
If I kill my sister, she'll be at peace.
Whatever is inside Mia is the cause of all this.
Really? Because it feels like you're the cause of all this. And if I'm wrong, the movie has provided no proof to that effect.
What if she just lost her mind? What if she just needs a doctor?
Yes, David, because that explains why Olivia got all demony and started cutting her face off and trying to kill Eric. Olivia did all that because Mia needs a doctor. Don't worry, guys. I'm pretty sure Natalie just needs a doctor. Nail guns don't work like this, and definitely not without some modifications that I'm pretty sure Dead Eyes over here did not make. Now, I'm not saying this wouldn't be painful or annoying, but I am saying that the movie has presented us with an unrealistic amount of penetration. David's arm and face survived this, but Eric's hand does not, making it hard for me to understand whether or not the movie understands crowbars.
This time, the only fucking way is the hard way.
Letting us know that you think burning the house down with your sister inside is the easy way. Guys, I no longer know what is happening. Would just like to point out that David's friend Eric is just sitting outside by the Jeep, most likely dying, while David is doing whatever this dumb shit is he's trying to do. I don't like Eric that much either, David, but currently you are being a selfish dick. Why does a demon that possesses insane strength need a fucking box cutter to inflict damage? She could just rip David's arms off. Despite having a weapon in hand, the demon Mia will now spend a lot of time just throwing David around before even attempting to kill him. It could be plot armor, or maybe he's the final boss for this level. It needs to be weakened before you can be taken down. Who knows? It's hard to tell with all the drowning, but this looks like Eric managed to sneak up on Mia and hit her with the crowbar. Somehow, in that sudden sneak attack, she got the opportunity to stab him. Not impossible, but still a bunch of bullshit. Also, why are the demons immune to tranquilizers but not blunt force trauma? David is not a doctor or a nurse. I would have zero clue how much medicine to dose Mia with, but he does it anyways, and somehow it kind of works. David decided at the last second he couldn't burn the house down with Mia in it, but now he's going to go through with burying her alive? I don't know David personally, but just going to make the declaration that he is not the friend you want in life or death scenarios. He's going to f that up every time. Again? Do the demons not have any other tactic? God damn this movie. God damn and drag this movie to hell. David built this medical contraption with absolutely no medical training. And since the movie has made him out to be some kind of MacGyver, I imagine he also built this city on rock and roll. However, I've never seen a defibrillator that required needles to go straight into the heart. Even if this is a thing, I have to say this whole design is more about getting in as many stabbings as possible than it is about saving Mia's life. So all the wounds just go away after all that demon f***ery? That hot water that covered Mia in 2nd and 3rd degree burns wasn't imaginary. She is suddenly standing after being possessed and momentarily dead. David trusts this because he is an idiot, but we don't trust it because no one should, and the writers did that shit on purpose to keep us off balance. Well played, but if everything feels like a red herring, do fish even exist? Also, this burial thing working makes the beginning scene with the fire and shotgun blast to the face completely fucking insane. Why and how is the burial thing not plan A every time? Were the car keys sitting on this table the whole time? Meaning David did not secure the car keys before he was 2 seconds away from burning the goddamn cabin down? These wire cutters are not very stabby looking. Sure, they look like they would hurt if they were jammed into your neck and would probably draw blood, but that doesn't make this choice of weapon make sense. It's less stabby than the nails in Eric's arm. If you're like me, you are asking, when did he become possessed? And the movie's all like, f*** your logic. A quick search of theater webs will tell you that you can take this exploding gas can nonsense and shove it up your ass. I get why you're sad, Mia, but at least you got a cool dress out of the deal. Earlier in the movie, Eric talks about his findings in the book. He says,
Once he feasts on 5 souls, the sky will bleed again, and the abomination will rise from hell.
So was Mia's soul still counted as being fed on even though she was saved? And David died before anyone could feed on him. Are we counting Grandpa, the dog? Because that makes no sense. So at the most, if we're counting Mia, we have 4 souls that were fed on. The abomination rising from the grave is all the bullshit. Trying to fire up a chainsaw this close to your legs. Convenient chainsaw gasoline is convenient. This magical crawl space appears out of nowhere to assist in this escape. Sort of. It also needs to create tension by making Mia confined and vulnerable. But it's helping too. Man, this movie really wants Mia to lose her arm so we can have another chainsaw arm in the Evil Dead family, but why? And this movie's clearly more of a sequel than a reboot, so why is the chainsaw even still there? Shouldn't Ash have it on his arm? We are not going to show what happens here, but shouldn't Ash have it on his arm? We are not going to show what happens here, but believe me when I say Mia should not survive this.
I will feast on your soul. Feast on this motherfucker.
It really was a toss-up as to whose one-liner was going to get in the way of them winning the fight, so I have to give the movie credit for keeping us in suspense, but I also have to give it a sin for being dumb. No reason to move any faster. You're only bleeding out and will probably be dead in the next few minutes. Walking toward the cabin that is on fire doesn't seem like a great idea, but you do you, Mia.
Groovy.
An end credit scene is not as groovy as Ash being in the actual movie.
Eric did it because he hates you.
Grandpa?
In a sense, we are related.
Osaka. Whoa. Oh. Again, this head is so tiny. What are the most tiniest of heads? Whoa, what the fuck? Why is that a thing? Hoop! Oh, Attack on Titan movie? Beauty Navy. That's what. Now open. Hoop. Beauty Navy test. Grand open. Nice. Wait, what is this? Oh, we take a U-turn. I'm scared. Mannequin Belch. Wait a minute. Holy, wait a minute. What is this? Holy. Wait a minute. What an artist did those abs. Come. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. Okay, I'm posting this. What's up, baby? Oh. Misuho, Misuho. Love forever. The shit is that? Yes. About the Jajoy Kusu something. Development. Look at the cat development. Easy. I posted it. Let's keep watching this. Skip. Why close up with the yoga place? Cool. How long does it take to learn geometry? Please tell me.
So in 2014, I traced this basically from a base and added my face onto it. And then in 2021, I can draw something like this in just a few minutes. So that would sound like it took me 7 years to get good at anatomy, right? No, it actually only took me about 2 years. And so I want to explain why that is and how I made that journey, but also a lot of mistakes that I have made and I see other people making, so that I can hopefully help you make a similar journey if you want to improve on your anatomy skills. So from 2014 to 2017, I basically had zero improvement or even practice drawing figures. I would just trace things from photographs. I didn't actually use a base like I mentioned before. I just traced it from a photograph reference that I found on DeviantArt. And I did a few more tracing stuff in college, but I never actually drew. So I basically made no improvement there. And just in case you're wondering, what you're watching right now is my current drawing skill, just some sketches that I did this week. So if we go back to 2017, from then to 2019, I still barely did anything. I really just focused a lot on portraits. I did make this one drawing of a figure in 2018 and a few other things similarly, but they were really, really weird and kind of had weird proportions, and they weren't really fully 3D, and there were a lot of parts that are just flat. So I'll show you a couple drawings like that I did, and I rarely did these, so I really barely made any improvement. We're talking like maybe 5 figure drawings that I did over this time. So in December 2019, I decided I wanted to get a little bit better at figures, and I decided to do a few of these little studies where I would kind of like measure the head sizes and try to do my own overall general flow sketch. And they look really rough and really tired, and I quickly realized that I was going to have to put that on the back burner and focus more on faces. But that didn't last too long, because next year in 2020, I took a course called Analytical Figure Drawing at CGMA. It was an online course, and here's the work I did in that course, and it's a lot better than the stuff that I was doing before in 2019, but you can see it's still really stiff and boring, and the kind of figures, they just kind of look...
He took a class.
I decided to take another course with Will Weston at Drawing America.
So para my take a class. That's what I don't want to do.
A huge thanks to
first, though, right?
Like the movie Brick.
I'm a hard light on climate change. If that scares you, go stick your head back in the sand.
This is not how political candidates courting votes usually speak. This is how political commentators usually speak. A politician would be more likely to say, I believe the science behind climate change is real and serious, and I'm the one who can fix it, directly followed by exactly 0 examples of ways to do so.
Everything is so woke these days, it's out of control.
Yes.
Love you. Yes.
There's no possible way that A, Birdie has a straight visual shot to any corner of this crowded room while sitting on the floor, or B, would have been able to hear him say this with all the COVID pod shenanigans going on all around her. She appears to be pointing at this corner to see and hear this guy. How? Yes, of course, someone like Duke would have a Scarface poster hanging up in his house. I think that's what the joke is. Duke sees himself as a man of power, even though he isn't. But can we just send the fact that it's Scarface? Props crew prop for making this an actual stereogram. But if you're going to design a hidden button, don't you think it should be somewhere a little more off-center? Finding the box's click-torus should be much more difficult.
It's a compass.
Mom!
Jackie Hoffman is the best.
So, a fugue is a beautiful musical puzzle based on just one tune.
Songs as a musical puzzle? Is this movie stealing from the January Man? Also, thank God Birdie is having a party in the middle of a pandemic so that Yo-Yo Ma can solve the music puzzle for them. Or else, how do they figure this out?
See the center wheel lifted up?
Sure, a fugue is, as defined by Yo-Yo, a musical puzzle that when you layer the tune on top of itself, it becomes a beautiful new structure. But that isn't an intuitive clue whatsoever. How does that clue lead one to think, I need to lift the center wheel? Anyway, we're all thinking the same thing at this point, but only I've had the balls to say it. Fugues. A curious thing happens from the time CNN interviews Claire to now. The coronavirus cases go down globally from somewhere over 4 million to just over 800,000 when they interview Dr. Fauci. The United States goes from just over 1 million to just over 160,000. And they've changed the graphic from globally to global cases. Feels like the movie took real footage of CNN's interview with Dr. Fauci and did their own during Claire's interview. Or it's just an average day on CNN. The way Helen solves this box, being mirrored by the way she solves the final puzzle of the movie, is such beautiful, thematic, disruptive symmetry that I have to peel another sin layer off.
Blanc, I saw you go in the engine room.
The movie introduces the possibility of Benoit teaming with Jessica Fletcher and doesn't follow through. Also, this marks Angela Lansbury and Stephen Sondheim's final appearances on film, so here are a couple more sins for these legends no longer being among us.
Lockdown hasn't been easy for any of us. But Philip told me you haven't left the bath for a week.
Baths are gross, even at reasonable amounts of time. You're basically just stewing in your own filth. Add to that, once you're in there for a while, the water gets cold. I'm just saying, I don't care how bored he is. I'm guessing Blanc isn't likely to sit there long enough to be germ soup or freeze his Benoit balls off.
Did you solve the murder of, what's her name? That, the belly dancer with the thing and the thing.
Spoiling the plot to Tender Mercies, a Knives Out Glass Onion Benoit Blanc Netflix sprinkle mystery.
Taiwan Miles? No, never met.
Did Miles not send a manifest with the boat? Or even to sudden throat spray Ethan Hawke? I know he's an idiot, but with that much money, certainly he pays someone to keep the uninvited off the island.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Greece.
Sudden throat spray Ethan Hawke, who I just mentioned, but I'm still somehow surprised by this extra snap bracelet that shouldn't exist. It's amazing how mysterious Ethan Hawke doesn't bother to get out of the car and give Andy the weird COVID shot during this entire dramatic entrance. He shows up in the background as the scene ends, but he just seems to be having a conversation with her, and I have a sneaking suspicion it's not even Ethan Hawke anymore.
The question isn't why do you invite her? It's why did she show up?
No, why did he invite her is a good question, actually. If they just went through heavy litigation and had a major falling out, what would the purpose be of inviting her? Aside from there's no movie if it doesn't happen reason. Sure, I guess he could have invited Andy as cover in case her apparent suicide was ruled a murder, but he had almost no time to use the puzzle box for that purpose. Andy sends the threatening email on May 11th. She was murdered the next day, and the puzzle box was delivered to everybody on May 13th.
My friends, my friends.
Oh, and also two people you aren't expecting to see and will somehow be consecutively shocked by, even though you're scanning in their direction for much of the next few minutes.
Hey!
Hey, bro.
Not here.
But you are here, and unless Trooper Wagner from Knives Out has a twin brother we don't know about, but Benoit Blanc somehow did, I'm gonna need an explanation as to why he doesn't immediately recognize your face. Little known trivia, Brian Johnson had his friend Joseph Gordon-Levitt voice that sound effect, marking the first time his giant dong has been on screen. And that seems like a sin.
Oh my God, it's full of stars. 2010, the year we make contact.
Explaining your Kubrick references. Be patient. Initiative comes to thems that waits. That's from Clockwork Orange. Here's Sydney.
Lionel, you are too sexy to be a scientist.
That's scientist.
You remember that night you almost pancaked me with it on the road outside? Right?
Anderson Cooper's birthday.
When this conversation is flashed back to later in the movie, Duke clearly says Andy, and yet here the Andy is missing. And this is weird, since we don't know Andy is dead yet and that her twin sister is playing her. I suppose the movie doesn't want you referring back to this later before it reveals Miles as the killer, but it's a pretty massive cheat. Also, Duke doesn't even bother to correct Miles over this, even though he doesn't even know Andy is dead yet and has no idea how to benefit from that knowledge.
You never know when shit's gonna go down.
The slogan for the American Plunger Society somehow clogs up the script.
Will you break more things? Break bigger things? Are you willing to break the thing that nobody wants you to break?
Brian Johnson, you sneaky bastard. Miles doesn't realize it, but he's drawing the exact blueprint Helen will use to finish him off later. And this screenplay is so brilliantly intricate that I'm going to have to disrupt the sins and remove one more. I was really planning to like Andy until she started sarcastic clapping her way into the conversation.
That was some real red pill stuff, Miles.
Using a Matrix pill reference to win any philosophical argument, no matter what side of the argument you're on, cliche.
It's a dangerous thing to mistake speaking without thought for speaking the truth, don't you think?
Preach, baby, preach! I could either take another sin away for saying it or add one for the seeming lack of our culture's ability to hear it, or I could just say Twitter. During this entire sequence before the murder mystery dinner, Benoit finds himself in all the perfect places to witness all sorts of important information at just the right time. I don't know how the f he does it. It's f***ing insane how much pertinent information he received during his walk around the mansion. I guess he can see her, but she can't see him. I know she's putting her hat on when he turns the ass cheek, but how does she not notice the face in her peripheral vision when she's looking this way? Also taking your attempt at cracking the case too literally.
This is a smokeless garden.
Having this kind of a system but no signs that tell you not to light up in the first place.
That's Jeremy Renner's small batch hot sauce. I let him invest. He sends me like a pallet every year. Take a few bottles.
They'll also come in super handy when you need to make it look like not Andy is bleeding to death later in the movie. So by all means, pocket the hot sauce for no other reason than that.
I apologize. I don't know your drink, but, pick your poison.
Remember these words for later, folks. I think this will be very interesting when we find out that Miles is Tyler Durden and that while there always was a Roy, there never was an errant counselor.
Or...
Come on.
Wait,
That's impossible.
I agree. Look, I love everything about the setup and payoff of what the Mona Lisa means to this movie. But I don't care how hard the pandemic hits, no one is renting it out without a man detailed to oversee its protection.
My mom took me to Paris when I was 6 years old.
Skip!
Yeah, why not? As Watson said to Holmes.
It was Birdie who planted a remote device on the crossbow in revenge for you stealing her signature red diamond.
Must have been really hard to find someone who would paint Kanye West this way until Miles ran into Kanye West. Ruining your headline's alliteration by having one P word start with an F sound.
I hired Gillian Flynn to write the whole thing.
Oh, she's quite good.
She's goddamn expensive, is what she is.
For someone like Miles, there's no way that hiring Gillian Flynn to write his murder mystery party could have in any way been that expensive. Hell, Gone Girl's movie rights were bought for $1.5 million. Even if she requested 10 times that figure, that's a whatever expense for him. Blanc is now going through all the murder Miles motives for everyone on the island except Andy, who he knows is Helen. Seems like that would be the one to lead with, and leaving it out seems like a careless and un-Blancian way to draw attention to her. Earlier when Miles explained how the Mona Lisa protection worked, he said after it was set off, it had to be released by pushing the dunce boy down here. But now it's just automatically resetting after a couple seconds with no one pushing it. Why? Also, if the sound of a phone alert sets it off, how is it not set off by the music or even conversation? Why is the protection sound-based anyway?
My life was taken away from me by someone, by everyone in this room.
Dragging Peg into this nonsense.
Duke's smiling.
Yeah, we find out later it's because he just got a Google alert that Andy was dead. So you're telling me that Duke of all people saw that news, and instead of freaking out about who was impersonating a dead woman on the island, he immediately figured out that Miles killed her and came up with the plan to blackmail him for a TV slot? This makes none of the sense on so many levels.
Everything works out in the end. You just gotta keep the faith.
I saw Keeping the Faith back in the year 2000, and I can say without hesitation that you shouldn't go anywhere near Keeping the Faith. This is a nice sleight of hand here when Miles gives Duke the glass of alcohol that's going to poison him, but it sure makes me wonder why we couldn't hear Duke say Andy a minute ago if we're gonna cheat the viewer. Also, Miles really puts a lot of stock in the fact that this switcheroo won't be noticed by the people in the room and the audience, but especially Duke, who already has a drink in front of him. Luckily for Miles, Duke wasn't holding his glass like he has been for the entire scene, or this doesn't work at all. Duke takes exactly 10 seconds to go from taking a drink to full anaphylaxis. That's just too fast. It can happen within 2 or 3 minutes, yes, but 10 seconds is what happens when a movie develops an allergy to inconvenient medical reality.
My guess is something was put in his drink, intentionally.
How is no one here immediately on the pineapple train? The plot needs everyone to think it's poison so that they could be misled that Miles was the target, but this is clearly an allergic reaction, and Duke's aversion to pineapple is public knowledge.
Boat can't come till low tide in the morning, 6 a.m. at the earliest.
Do they understand the situation?
Do you understand the situation? I understand Miles' boat captain doesn't want to make the trip because the dock is a piece of shit. But cell phones work, right? Duke was getting Google alerts. Why can't anyone call the police? Plus, there's a dead guy. Swim the last few feet, slackers.
Oh,
That's your glass, Miles.
I know the movie cut to an extreme close-up of the glass, so we could clearly see Miles' name on it, but how the f*** can Birdie read it from where she is? Andy got a personalized glass just like this one earlier, and Duke's was obviously similar.
He picked up mine.
Sorry guys, but I'm not watching this in a theater, I'm watching it on Netflix, so I decided to rewind to the scene that is being flashback to here, and I noticed that Miles gave him the glass, so case solved. It's not 1933 anymore, bitches.
Where's Duke's phone?
It just dinged. It must be here.
Despite this phone having constant Google alerts the rest of the evening, it conveniently only chimes the one time Miles is near the body so as not to give him away.
When did his gun disappear?
The movie tries to make me believe that the guy who sees everything somehow missed the gun being taken from Duke.
Aha! Here's my phone.
Cool. So why are you using the screen as illumination instead of turning on the flashlight that you were bragging about earlier? Benoit now runs after Andy, and they end up running into each other in a place where the killer just so happens to be perfectly set up to shoot her.
Helen!
Helen? He called her Helen. We don't even know that name yet, and the movie is subtly giving us a chance to know something's up. Still, Blanc doesn't know for sure that no one else is around, and that doesn't seem like a mistake he would make, considering all that's on the line.
We only need one last piece of information, but only you can.
Being this accurate through glass with gloves on at night, and that's before we even get to the convenience of the bullet stopped by a meaningful object cliche that's coming up later. Also, even if you're a dumbass like Miles, why would you take this shot from behind the glass with a witness? Haven't you ever played poker, Worm? It's called picking a better spot. All the suspects arriving to the scene of the murder cinematically and simultaneously.
Peg,
Radio the mainland. Tell them to send the boats now.
Does Peg have a more persuasive tone of voice than Lyle does? Didn't they tell him they wouldn't go out there because Miles only has a low-tide dock? I think you're gonna have to give her more instructions, right? Underneath this transition to the second half of the movie is the fugue that Yo-Yo Ma was so kind to come in and ma-splain to us earlier, indicating that the movie itself will now play the same tune underneath itself for the second half to reveal hidden layers of musicality and meaning, because apparently I didn't hate Rian Johnson enough for being a genius yet. Of course, it should be another sin off, but my spite will turn it into a sin because I too had hidden layers. Why did Helen leave the hammer inside the box?
Well, what do you do in Alabama?
I teach 3rd grade, so a lot of zooming.
Something tells me that in the not-so-distant future, all education in the United States will be known as Zooming.
Miss Brand, what can I do for you?
The question for me is, how did Helen find Benoit's address in a short time, and why did she go straight there instead of making a call first, especially in the teeth of the pandemic?
Andy didn't commit suicide. She didn't leave any note.
Maybe Helen doesn't trust the cops detectives who handled Andy's death, or they didn't believe her story. But it would be nice to hear that from her before accepting the fact that she immediately went to Benoit Blanc for help. 2:45, but earlier in the bath it said 2:39 on the laptop, and that scene went on another 2 minutes, meaning you were still in the tub at 2:41. Not only that, but this scene started 2 minutes ago at what should have been 2:43. Take another 30 seconds off for walking from the bath to out here, and I'm sinning that there is no human who should look this put together after being in the bathtub with a hat on 90 seconds ago.
Google said you are the world's greatest detective.
So wait, it didn't give you a bunch of fictional detectives like Batman or Sherlock Holmes? How did you refine your search to get Benoit Blanc so easily?
I've not seen your sister's death in the news. Did you release a statement?
No. Was I supposed to?
Does it require a statement for everyone to know about the death? This is a celebrity, or at least someone well known.
If I pulled a few strings, I could keep it from leaking to the press for another week.
Keeping the death of one of the most famous women in the country secret because Blanc is going to pull a few strings. You're going to have to explain this string theory to me, or I'm calling bullshit.
You cut your hair, you wear her clothes.
Oh, you really think I can fit into that shit?
Helen must have that Christian Bale power from The Prestige, where she can tell the weight difference between twins when there isn't any.
I'm a detective, Helen. I'm not a bodyguard. I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Blanc rightly realizes he's putting Helen in harm's way and calls off the plan for about 15 seconds until she convinces him to put her life back in jeopardy by showing him her revenge boner.
Now, come on, walk me through these journals.
And do it out loud and in a voice that almost sounds like you're narrating some really important movie exposition.
About 10 years ago.
Believe me, I tried to read this journal. Even if I could make out every word, it's hard to think it has anything to do with the story Helen is about to tell. Something about indulge, to imitate them, suggest you are under their spell, and maybe some sort of technique she used on her friends, but hell if I know. This is a very mysterious journal entry, and I wonder why we even get a glimpse at it.
You know, I wanna be responsible for something that gets talked about in the same breath as the Mona Lisa. Forever.
What does that even mean?
Oh, sure, we can question the meaning of this, but Benoit doesn't even bother to ask what the hell
His first venture was movie phone for foot massages.
means. I have been studying this napkin for what exactly Andy and Miles turned into the company called Alpha and why it's such a huge deal, but I guess the movie's answer is they got into crypto, and that's all we need to know.
So based on the napkin idea,
Helen and Blanc are now expositing out loud through a second public location, even though they should probably be on the down low because cinema, baby. There's no doubt that James Baxter is the best journalist writing about capital E entrepreneurs today. But can we just for a moment recognize that when I frequently hear the word entrepreneurs out in public, I think it's the French word for sexual intercourse. This outburst of destruction will lead to finding the all-important napkin, and I don't think this destroying things when you're angry will lead you to the answers message is good for the kids, and you know how much I care about the kids. Too bad that when they show Andy writing this email, the subject found it doesn't capitalize the it, like the one we saw earlier did.
you must be really great at Clue, huh?
It's just a terrible, terrible game.
Well, my students love it.
You play Clue with third graders over Zoom?
I signed off on putting clear and a manned mission.
Yet another time where Benoit or Helen got in perfect position to hear something that could be important to the case.
You're telling me that it could literally turn people's homes into the Hindenburg?
How the f*** had she not talked to Lionel about this yet? Like, if she cared more about people's lives or her reputation than the money or getting elected, wouldn't she have asked the science guy of the group about the dangers before signing off on it as governor?
You didn't even write back!
I never email anything that I wouldn't want to see on the front page of the Times. That's why I called. We all did.
Claire says she didn't email back because she's a politician. But what is everyone else's excuse? Did they not email back so that the movie could put everyone at Andy's house on the day of her murder?
And when we couldn't reach you, I went to your house.
Lionel and I got there at the same time. Duke was already there.
Let me get this straight. After at least a week of no response, the three of you just happened to show up at Andy's house at the exact same time? That's film-astonishing. Sorry, That's plot amazing. Damn it. One more try. Oh, that's convenient tastic. There it is.
He almost got in an accident on his motorcycle. He was driving so fast.
Andy, I almost got pancaked.
Since both of these characters don't have any idea that Miles killed Andy and that Helen is playing Andy right now, why is Duke still not mentioning that the person who nearly pancaked him was Miles? Yes, Miles interrupted him earlier to say Anderson Cooper's birthday, so maybe he feels the need to keep his mouth shut? But keep his mouth shut about what? That Miles was at her house for a murder he doesn't even know happened? Also, he's obviously told this story before to Claire, and he was about to ask Miles if he remembered him nearly pancaking him outside of Andy's house.
For no apparent reason. For no apparent reason. 10 years ago. I wasn't even born.
Here's Terry Purdue. She's a clown shoe resoler.
You know what they say about clowns with big feet?
Oh, yeah. Oh! Here's Rob Tussin. He was very impressive in the warm-ups. And
Oh, he's alive. Why did he do that trick?
Oh, how can he? Oh, he must be feeling.
Oh, he did.
I don't think he's feeling anything from the neck down, Ken. Here's Kenny earlier this afternoon.
Boom.
I tested the wall first. It's pretty solid.
Good thinking, Ken. Wow, looks smart on you.
For my homies. Yeah, fits good. It's kind of itchy, though.
Let's see how Kenny Blankenship does with the Boulder Dash suit. Ooh.
Into the slit.
Looks like you've got good mobility, Ken.
Yeah, it's kind of itchy. I should have washed it first.
Bogged down there.
Yeah, well, I had to kick that guy's ass. He wouldn't let me in. And then he trips me right here.
Kenny, you don't seem to be really testing your suit. There you are. Now.
I was screaming for dramatic effect.
Well, I was moved by it. And here you are, ready to take
Why
on the
am I-
second boulder. Wow.
What am I listening to?
Smoking.
And this spirited young fellow is Avancé, much sought after fashion photographer.
Oh, he got bucked early.
Yes, he did, Ken. Actually, that didn't count. We're going to let him get back up there. You know, models love this guy. He is known for his unrelenting positive attitude and his fanny pack full of amyl nitrates.
Uh-oh.
There he goes.
Oh, he's going down.
I don't think he's going down, Ken. He's going into that little used side saddle ride.
Oh, something's bothering him, I think.
He learned that at a photo shoot at an Indian gaming casino, and it didn't work for him here. He is bucked off, like you said.
Oh, and he takes a full load from Herbie. He doesn't know whether to scream or smile.
And let's go to our MXC Impact replay. Take another look.
Oh, he's dying.
Martha is a free-range rancher for sacrificial animals from Santa Maria, California.
Look at her go.
She's got a good load going so far. Here she goes. Satan's ramp. That's a big arrow.
Oh, he died.
And here's Rhonda Merkin. She and some girlfriends invented a rug recycling machine called the Carpet Muncher.
Ooh, looks like she's gonna go wall to wall, Vic.
Right you are, Ken.
Try the buffet.
Yeah, I'll try that. Here's Jody Macaroni, a lunch lady counselor from Boise Unified School District.
What? What's the real Squid Game? Are those like the reals in the translations?
And here's Rhonda Merkin. She and some girlfriend. Ooh, and he takes a spill. They all look pretty close, don't you think, Ken?
Nose to nose.
And there's number 4, designated mounter.
Oh,
And here we come onto the platform. Nice transition. He's got her around the waist, and it looks like they had a little trouble. That was a terrible
Why he went down? That was his fault. His entire fault. He pushed
And it
her.
looks like they had a little trouble.
That's his fault.
Terrible handoff, Kenny. And here's Harry and Helen Blaney. Oh, he made it between the pink curtains, but he split his lips. Get down. Next up, Sherbert Tights. He teaches balloon puppetry to self-abusers. Oh, and he's also going to be our MXC Impact replay.
He couldn't do anything.
And here's Karen Griffin. I'll win! She paints life-size boogeymen in children's bedroom closets. Oh, surgery!
What?
And here's Dr. Edward Jonathan. He's an on-site cosmetics surgeon for fashion shows.
His motto is, why alter the clothes when you can alter the model?
Truer words never spoken, Ken.
Nice footwork.
What?
Indeed, Ken. Some of the best we've seen so far. There he goes.
He's like that Lord of the Dance dude.
He's approaching the slope of no hope. Oh, and no hope for the doctor. Vicky Sue Gonzalez, a turkey jerker from Jackson Hole. Oh! She's down hard. There's Lizzie Dugan.
Oh.
And here's Fred Kaczynski, the email bomber. Oh!
Fred, you've got jail.
Teaches flamboyant shuffling techniques to dull blackjack dealers. And looks like he got dealt a bad hand.
I'm a star.
And that's Karen Edwards, star of Night Harvester, the story of a nocturnal talking tractor. Oh! She takes a hard one, Ken.
What are these
Here's
commenters
Mary Ellen
saying?
Starch. She's addicted to short-term relationships. Let's see how she does, and she's done.
Oh!
Just like her relationships.
Well, so far, none of our couples have made it all the way round. Let's see if Sheila and Tommy Duncan can do it. Oh, there he starts off with a nice staggered meat curtain.
Oh.
And there he kneels into a thirsty altar boy. Great move.
Bless me, Father, for I've sinned.
Indeed, Ken. And there he's back up on the platform. There's the handoff for Sheila. Good form. Into the body squat, but she can't pull it off. She puts a knee right up into her chin.
Best episode ever. Wait, wasn't this in like Cartoon Network as well?
迫り来る壁を脳を使って
Wasn't that in Cartoon Network as well? Wait, the Cartoon Network stole that? Oh yeah, they did. Disney Channel Asia. Okay. Like paint hair like a professor.
Looks, but it could be an eagle. But it's not. It's actually some hair. So anyway, so now that we have the sketch, what we're going to do is we're going to fill the sketch with a flat color. So we're going to create a new layer, pull it below our sketch, and then just fill this entire shape with one flat color. So I'm going to pick the selection tool, the lasso tool. Then I'm going to select kind of a mid-tone for the base. And then just fill it with your color. So now that we have the base shape for this, we're going to create a new layer. And this is the layer where we're going to focus on the shadows, the most prominent shadows. And also on some hue shifts. So we're going to add some more color to it just to kind of make it more pop and to make it more vivid, you know, because if we're only going to use two colors or one single color tone, it's going to look very lifeless and boring. So we need to make sure that we're adding some life to it and some variation. So anyway, so we're going to focus on the most prominent shadows, and let me just outline them to you in the final piece. So we have a very dark shadow right here going down. We have one up here, and then some smaller ones right here. And we're just going to focus on them and quickly block them into our sketch. So with this layer selected, what we're going to do is we're going to turn it into a clipping mask. So the way to do this, you select the layer that you just created, and then you want to hit this small icon right here which says clip to layer below. If you're in Photoshop or Procreate, it's going to be a little bit different, but it should be quite easy to find out online. And a clipping mask basically stops you from drawing outside of the shape that's below. So let me just illustrate you. If we turn off the clipping mask, and if I were to paint on top of this shape now, you see how I can draw outside of it? But as soon as I turn on the clipping mask, it locks it into this shape that's below my current layer. So I can't draw outside of our base, you know, like the base being the base color of our hair. And now I can't draw outside of it because we're locked into it. And this is what we want at this stage. We don't want to draw outside of it. We want to be locked into this shape. So let me actually clear this layer again, and let's start focusing on the shadows. So the way I pick the color for the shadow is I select the base color, then I'll make it a little bit darker and just shift the hue a little bit. And now we're just going to paint it in roughly. So again, it doesn't need to be perfect. So just have fun, relax, and yeah, try to have a good time. And you can see I'm being very loose here, just kind of indicating where these shadows go to. Because the thing is, when you're painting hair, or if you look at hair, if you try to study it and analyze it, it's not very predictable. It's very random. So you need to be spontaneous and then random as well when you're painting it to make it look as natural as possible. Also, what I'm doing right here is you can see how I'm painting and then I'm erasing. The way I'm erasing so quickly is by hitting C on my keyboard. And by hitting C, you're basically switching between the foreground color and a transparent color. And the transparent color allows you to erase with the same brush that you already have selected. And this is just a very quick way to switch between an eraser and your brush. And I do this all the time. This is one of my favorite features in Clip Studio Paint. I believe many others have it as well, but Photoshop doesn't, which is a bummer. But anyway, so this allows me to switch between my foreground color and a transparent color, and the transparent color acts as an eraser. So just hitting C allows me to switch between the two colors very quickly. All right, so I just keep going and I keep adding some shadows here and there. Anyways, now that we have this, so these are the most prominent shadows. What we're going to do is we're going to select our shadow color, make it even darker, just to kind of pronounce them even more, and just make them a little bit darker in some areas, you know? Just adding some shadows here and there, and you can already see how it's taken on shape. Like, it's already getting some form. So if we just turn off the shading layer, you can see how it's getting some form already. Just by adding these very simple random shapes, these random shadows to it. Also, what I'm thinking about, this is probably the only advanced thing that I'm thinking about right now, is the flow of the hair. So I know that the hair is starting right here. This is where it grows, and it's making this flow, like it's making this movement. It's flowing up and down. So this is all that I'm thinking about, the flow of the hair. So I know it's flowing like this. The more understanding you have of your reference, the easier it's going to be. And when it comes to hair, it's just all about the flow. Where does it start? Where does it end? That's all you need to think about. That's all you need to take care of. Anyways, now that we have the basic shadows, the next thing that we're going to do, as I said, is we're going to add some color variation to it. And if we go back to my painting, you can see that there's some different colors incorporated into this painting. So we have some very saturated oranges right here. And so we want to add these as well, just to add some life to our painting and to not make it look as boring and lifeless. Again, very simple. We're going to be very spontaneous. We're just going to select our base layer and make the color more saturated, and then just paint them in, you know? And you can switch it up a couple of times, make it more lighter and brighter, and just add some color variation here and there. And you really can't do wrong when you're painting hair.
Oh, beautiful.
So kind of like this. I also want to add some more saturated ones here and there, but be careful not to make it too saturated or not to go overboard. You don't want to exaggerate it too much to where it looks fake. But also don't be afraid to go bold a little bit. Perhaps you want to add a little bit of some yellows to it, or like more yellowish tones. And as I said, don't be afraid to experiment. So now that we have this, we're going to add even more definition to it by focusing on the lighting. And so first we're going to focus on the basic lighting, on the ambient lighting, and then we're going to focus on the highlights. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our base color, move into the yellow hue, and then make it a little bit brighter, and then just test out the color. And this is looking pretty good. And you can see I'm still using the same brush. I haven't switched the brush. And we're going to create a new layer for this, and also activate the clipping mask, which is going to restrict our color into the shape. And then we're just going to paint in the light. And now with the next layers, we're just going to darken up our shadows where they need to be even darker, and we're going to brighten up our lighting. So we're going to create a new layer on top, and then just darken up the areas where we believe it should be darker. One thing you can also do is, so for example, you can see that in between some hair, there's the background shining through. So what you can do is you can select the background color and then just paint in some holes, I would say, in between some hair.
All right, I did my fur. Boom. I made a tail. Oh, mama. Wait, one of my favorite did on YouTube. Wait a minute. Wait, I can use this. Wait, smudge. Did you see the smudge tool? Oh my god, that's a penis. There we go. Wait. I wonder how long it took to get a 6-minute time lapse. Probably a couple of days. Probably a couple of days. Probably. Artist daughter pack. Didn't say so. I'm gonna end stream now. I did some stuff. Okay. Tomorrow probably gonna stream or play a game tomorrow. What is it tomorrow? When does? Wait, today? Wait, what day is it? Oh, it's midnight. I'm stupid. So tomorrow, Dead Island comes out, and I'm gonna play that. So yeah, and yeah. Okay, bye. Yeah, I'm gonna play tomorrow. I'm gonna play that. Next stream, I'll probably draw something else or play a game. Next stream, I'll keep drawing or play a game and then draw. I don't know. I need a better schedule. I hate my job. I'm trying to graduate from fucking college, but I can't. College sucks. I'm never gonna get into university. I should just drop out. Be a college dropout. I'm never gonna graduate, so who cares? Yeah, my life sucks. Okay, the other 3 bye.